No. Are you good? Oh my god. Okay. I'm so ready. All right, here we go. Game Awards 2025. This is all we're going to talk about. Games. We love games. And in 2025, there were so many games that were released. Blueprints, Hades 2, Expedition 33. There was also Arc Raiders, Blueprints, Mesite. There are so many games. There's a bunch of them. Okay, look at all of these games that got released. You might recognize some of them, and smack bang in the middle there's Indiana Jones right next to Silksong, and then million points if you can recognize any of these games here. There's Silent Hill, right? There's this game here. What is this game, you might ask? Split Fiction. The list goes on and on and on, right? And so many people have made compilations of what they think will be Game of the Year, right? But the thing is how do you compare different gaming experiences? I played a lot of games this year, okay? And you could just chuck them all onto a tier list, but inevitably, someone's going to look at a game that you put in A tier and be like, what the heck? That doesn't belong there. Why did you put Outer Wilds 2 in the bottom? It's not Outer Wilds 2. Why did you put Oblivion in the bottom? Borderlands 4 is peak. It's better than 3, all right? So, I want to talk about comparing games. For me personally, this year, I'm really into puzzle games. Blueprints was one of the most incredible puzzle games I played this year, but I put 200 hours into it. While Loophole is just this really indie puzzle game that literally like no one knows about, and I spent like 10 hours in it. And both of these experiences are actually like S tier for me, but it feels really silly comparing Loopholes to Blueprints when they're just different experiences in different hours, right? And how am I meant to do that across genres? This is so many puzzle games here. You take these two games here, I'm gonna put the same amount of hours into Silksong. How do you rank these? Well, this guy is trying to do it. We have Jeff Keighley. He's all there talking about games, and he wants to categorize them and get really serious on stage and tell you all the 25 categories that deserve your attention. But really, this is the Oscars for video games, right? He's going to nominate some games, and then he will say, these are what I believe deserves recognition. And so if we just look at last year's stuff, we have Best Action Adventure Game, Best Action Game, Best Adaptation, Art Direction, Audio Design, Debut Indie Family Game, Fighting Game, Game Direction, Independent Game, Mobile Game, Multiplayer Narrative, Best Performance, Best RGB. It goes on and on and on and on. And tomorrow will be the day that Jeff Keighley gets up on stage and he announces his nominees.
Next Monday, it's time to reveal your nominees.
Let me play it again.
Next Monday, it's time to reveal your nominees for the Game Awards. Join us for the nomination announcement special, streaming live on Monday, November 17th at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, 5 p.m. GMT at thegameawards.com.
So that's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow is when he's releasing the whole list. And essentially, I want to make predictions. I am going to guess all of the games that are going to get nominated for every single category. That was the whole goal of this stream, right? So let's start with Game of the Year. We're just ripping it out of the gate because a lot of people have just been saying what the front runner is, which is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This game has overtaken every single game in terms of just AAA and also indie, and it's made by just a very small studio of people as well. Also, my other locks here is Donkey Kong Bonanza, Hollow Knight Silksong, Death Stranding 2, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Ghost of Yotei, and Hades 2, right? And then after that, if you're thinking of what seventh, sorry, I already have 7 games here. If you're thinking about what goes to 8th and 9th, it's Blueprints and then Split Fiction, okay? Now, I will explain how we got to these, but first, we must talk about Clair Obscur, right? Clair Obscur, everyone loves this game. This is such an incredible experience. Everyone's talking about it, everyone's raving about it, and there's a very good reason for it. It just has great story, it has great art, great music, and it's just really fun and refreshing for exactly what it is, and I can't believe I haven't played it yet, despite being told so many times how good this game is, right? And in fact, it has a 92 on Metacritic. There are not a lot of games this year that actually have over 90 in terms of like Metacritic score. And this is relevant for a few reasons. When it comes to journalists, the games that are on their radar are the ones that are like right at the top in terms of score, right? And you don't have to take my word for it for how good this game is. You can just listen to other people describe this. So let me play the video. I have a video. Okay, let me pause the music. Okay.
What do you think Game of the Year is going to be this year?
Expedition 33.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Expedition 33.
Expedition 33 is a new game and has been received with the utmost enthusiasm.
Starting with what a lot of people consider to be the front runner, Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Been getting glazed out the wazoo.
It's crazy because that game is really beautiful.
I think you will see many JRPGs inspired by Expedition 33 for years and years to come.
This game deserves all of the hype and all of the success that it's receiving and more.
A game that absolutely dominated the discussion.
I have never met a single human being that has played this game and disliked it. I talked to one of my buddies the other day and he said that he hated Expedition 33. I asked him how far he got in the game because it gets more and more peak as you progress. This little twit looked me in the eyes and said, "Oh, I haven't played it yet." Oh my god.
Expedition 33 came out this year.
Which you love.
I think that's going to be Game of the Year, even though there's some really good nominations.
Shroud's in a bit of hot water because he said something along the lines of, "This is Game of the Year, not that Expedition game." It sounds like he hasn't played it.
It does sound like he hasn't played it.
Let's also applaud Clair Obscur from Sandfall. Okay.
Gaming!
They might get some nominations at the end of the year. We're not
Wait,
there yet,
leaked?
but it is a monumental achievement, earning the highest user Metacritic score ever recorded for a game, all from a team of under 30 developers who bravely stepped away from big publishers to forge their own path.
Thank you, Jeff Keighley. So there's a lot of info there, and there is so much that we can talk about, but that's just to give you a flavor of the fact that literally everyone is talking about this game in some capacity, okay? So if you haven't heard about it, there it is, right? High-ranked game, one of the best movies I've seen. Where do I even start? It is insane that this guy just received the game for free. Anyway, if you look at the YouTube chat for this, there are a lot of people in here that just are talking about Expedition 33. They're like, if it doesn't get nominated for the categories, I'm gonna freaking lose it. Sweep, Silksong versus Expedition 33. But I mean, at this point, it almost seems like a no contest, right? And then I played the video. Don't worry about it, right? So there's a lot of good things going on for Expedition 33, and it's going to inspire a lot of games, right? To the point where comparisons are already happening between it, right? There's this one studio that is making a game that's very, very similar in visual style to this game. And essentially there was this article that's like, every time someone accuses us of ripping up Expedition 33, we die a little bit inside. And they've been developing this game since like 2022 or something like that. Just a little article there. So it's basically, you know, doing the rounds, right? People can't help themselves. People can't help themselves to the point where people are betting on Game of the Year. Like, it's such a hit that people are very confident to just dump their money on there, and they're just like, no contest, Silksong isn't going to win this, right? There was this Kotaku article by Ethan, thank you, Ethan, where they're just talking about all the betting here, and here's the graph from, you know, a few days ago, essentially. And you can look at this now, essentially. People have been tracking this for, like, it's opened on October 30th, and out of all of the front runners, this is just 80%. So this is just IRL gambling on what is going to win Game of the Year. It's not the nominations, it's just winning, and people are already thinking it's going to be this. And then the second place is Silksong for most of it. Okay? So if you look here, these are the two here, and then Death Stranding is the next one, okay? The reason I bring this up as well is, like, here are all, like, the Metacritic scores for all the stuff. So you can see Hollow Knight and Clair Obscur are neck and neck. And then there's also Arc Raiders, which, if you hadn't heard, Shroud had really been pushing as, I want this game to be Game of the Year nomination, right? This deserves a spot not Claire Obscure Expedition 33, so there's a lot of drama there, right? And a lot of people are enjoying this, but it only just came out as well. And then there's Split Fiction and Citizen Sleeper. There's actually a few more games, but we'll get to those. So if you just have a look at these rankings of what people are betting on, by the way, this actually really, really closely aligns the selections I picked. Just coincidentally. I didn't do this on purpose. I've been looking at data based on Metacritic scores, Steam scores, and also just what people have been talking about, especially journalists. And it's kind of eerie how it's a one-to-one mapping between betting here. The only two that I have flipped is Hades 2 and Ghost of Yotei 2. And that just comes down to journalists. I can see it going either way, and I'll explain that later. The weird thing, though, is if you have a look at all the Polymarket betting, some people think GTA 6 is going to win. They're already dumping money into it. I don't understand why, man. That's so weird, right? Because this game is being delayed. It's not coming out until November 2026. It got delayed even more. And it got delayed to the point where GTA 6 is not even eligible for 2026 Game Awards. It's going to be released after that cycle. So you're not even going to see GTA 6 until 2027 Game Awards, right? And if you thought that was silly, Metroid Prime 4 is also being betted for, and the nominees come out tomorrow, right? If it doesn't get nominated tomorrow, it cannot win Game of the Year. And let me tell you, Metroid Prime 4 doesn't come out until December. And I don't understand why people are putting money on this. Now, don't take any of this as financial advice, right? My top 7 isn't a lock, right? But I'm pretty sure it will be. But I can tell you for certain, Metroid Prime is not going to win in any capacity. And there are so many videos that I've seen where people are ranking Game of the Year stuff, and they keep putting Metroid Prime on there when it's not even allowed. Anyway. With all that being said, there's a game with more than 500 reviews. Look at the black on black text. Great. It is so close, but the thing is, everyone's talking about Expedition 33, but there are actually games that people are playing that aren't this game. And you might be like, what game? What game is more famous than this one? It sounds weird, right? I've spent all this time glazing this game, and you might be hard pressed to guess what it is. Where did my slides go? And it's this one. Does anyone know what this game is? This game, again, has 500x increase. Yeah, it is Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals came out in December last year and is actually qualified for Game of the Years. Unfortunately, no one really liked this game. It got a 74 on Metacritic, right? You've been like, ew, get this out of here. A 74 on Metacritic, 76 on Steam, ew. Let's just ignore it, right? But here's the problem. There's still another game that got twice the amount of reviews than Claire Obscure Expedition 33. And it's Schedule 1. Schedule 1 has 157,000 reviews with a 98% Steam score, right? It is actually really, really huge. You might be thinking, Ivanex, that's friend slop. It doesn't count. Okay, just because more people have played it, right? More people have reviewed it, doesn't mean that it's a better game. Okay? And I would agree, right? But the game is so popular that I want to tell you that when I went to my university, right, I just talked to random students like all the time. And one of them had Schedule 1 installed on their laptop in front of me. And we talked about it for a while, right? And she loved this game as much as like The Sims, right? There is a new wave push for the casual experiences. And you can see this here as Jeff Neely, kneeling down in front of all these independent games, is just blasting Repo in front of this, right? Now, I must point out real quick, right? You can see Schedule 1 there and Repo's there. These two games are not allowed to be nominated for the Game Awards. They're actually ineligible, okay? And that is because they are early release games, and you can only nominate games that are fully released within the year. And since they're not out yet, they will not be receiving any awards, despite all the accolades. And if you look at it, Repo is actually also above Expedition 33. In fact, if we just have a look at this whole lineup here, Expedition 33 actually doesn't come up in terms of most reviews for games until this point here. It's the 9th most reviewed game. These are all the games that like more people have played, presumably, or bothered to leave reviews, right? And this is just data, right? Marvel Rivals is the biggest one there, but you can see the ratio here. This is the Steam ratio for it. Schedule 1, which is not available for nomination. Silk Song is actually higher up. It's the first nominated game that it can actually be put up there. Repo cannot, and then for some reason it's Path of Exile 2, then Peak, which is a return to Friend Swap and Casual Experiences, and then Battlefield 6 and Monster Hunter Wilds, right? You might look at these and be like, but like, look how bad these ratios are. Like, you should just sort it based on ratios. And I did that, and Expedition 33 is still not the top one, right? Here are all the games in terms of review count. So if you just look at raw reviews, these are all the games in order, right? If you don't like looking at spreadsheets, there they are, right? There's some really interesting ones there. Like, it's interesting that Borderlands 4 is there so quick. Also in 21 there, you might notice one of my favorite games, Me-Side. Me-Side is one of the top reviewed games on Steam, all in the last year, right? Weirdly enough, Splitgate 2 also made it there, but not for good reasons. There's a lot of negative reviews there. Also, you have a Five Nights at Freddy games in 48, which is hilarious. Anyway, the game that's higher rated in terms of popularity on Steam is actually Deltarune. It's not even close. Now, White Knuckle is actually an indie game that I've played this year that's even higher than Deltarune. But again, the problem is it's in early access, so it can't be nominated for this year in any category. So Deltarune is the first one, followed by ENA Dream Barbecue, and then look outside. All of these just being indie games. This is really just the year for indie games. In fact, Me-Side is actually just above this as well. Same with Nubby's Number Factory. Now, Claire Obscure, it's really hard to find info on this, but I'm pretty sure it's an indie studio, right? But people keep describing it as AA, so that'll be interesting to navigate. But here's the top 50 Steam scored reviewed games. Above 4,000, by the way, right? And you know what the crazy thing about this, even though Deltarune is really, really, really popular with the release of Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, it has a 98% positive rating. It's not even in my top 6 nominees for Game of the Year. And there are so many good games here. So with so many good games released within the year, how do you decide what deserves the nomination slots, right? Because at the end of the day, there's only 6 slots, and it's very subjective what you can put for Game of the Year. So we need to talk about why I picked these games in the first place. So why is it these 7, right? These are very, very big games, but we need to get ourselves in the mindset of the Game Awards. So here's the way it works, right? So who decides what gets nominated? Well, it's these people, traditionally. So every single year, Jeff Keighley, he's hosting TGA. He'll announce all the nominees for like the 25 plus categories tomorrow, right? But each one of these categories, there's only 5 slots for each game, okay? If there's a tie, they will do 6, but Game of the Year has the extra slot, so there's always a 6th slot, okay? Here's the thing, 90% of the vote is determined by these people. So every single publication you see here submits their 5 favorite games for every single category. Whatever gets ranked the highest gets put into those categories, okay? So let me explain it again, just really quick. Out of all the people on the jury, you have all these people deciding, okay? All of them, all these journalists, all these publications, they submit 5 games for every single category, right? Once that's decided, right, it goes to audience voting. But here's the catch, right? Audience voting only makes up 10% of the vote. So essentially, whatever they pick here, it's pretty much 90% guaranteed that it's not going to change in any single capacity, okay? So knowing that, we can just do the data analysis. Here's an advisory board, by the way. Everyone that's on this advisory board is actually the people that pick those journalists in the first place. So if you see someone here, they get to pick which publication that they allow for like a vote in the first place. And you can see here, Kojima is one of the people on the bench. So he also had a game release this year, Death Stranding 2. So it's interesting that he doesn't control which games go in, but he can control which people talk about which games go in. So that's a little funny tidbit. Also, another fun fact here is Valve got added to the advisory board this year. And a lot of people are speculating on whether there's going to be an announcement anyway. Yes. So any game released after November 22nd is eligible for the Game Awards. That's how it works. And it feels weird, right? But it's because they do the show in December. So any games that are released in December are allowed for next year. Okay. And because of that, Indiana Jones was released really, really, really late. In fact, there were so many journalists that were complaining about this. Indiana Jones would have won Game of the Year contender if not for the timing. Voters say that they would have included it on their ballots. Indiana Jones may have arrived too late for many award ceremonies, but it's definitely one of the best games of 2024 regardless. Indiana Jones and the Great Circles, Eurogamer Game of 2024, Wordly. Journalists love talking about the games that they love. Okay, to the point where if I just go through and I just sample every single journalist, we get a pretty good idea of what they are interested in. Okay, it plays such a heavy weighting on what actually wins, because remember, they make up 90% of the vote. Tomorrow when the nominees come out and you put your vote in, that's only 10%, right? So if Claire Obscure Expedition 33 gets 90 out of the 100 votes, it doesn't matter what you vote for. It is already locked, right? And as much as Shroud says that he wants Arc Raiders to be Game of the Year, it's not decided by him at all. It's not decided by any of us. It's decided by those journalists, right? And it got to the point where people are even like, you know, glazing Troy Baker for his performance in The Great Circle. They're like, well, it should have won a voice acting award sort of thing. Indiana Jones and The Great Circle is a Game of the Year frontrunner at the DICE Awards. And if you look at this, right? This was posted in January 10th, right? People were very, very confident that there were not going to be any other good games this year, which is crazy, right? And if you look at the Golden Joystick Awards, which is a different award show, the nominations for these already came out, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circles on there. Now, I point this out, right, because there have been a lot of good other games. I mean, if you just look at the list that's in front of here, I would say a lot of these games are very, very good in comparison-wise. But journalists really, really, really want you to remember that Indiana Jones was a game that came out last year. Do you remember? Do you remember this came out? Hollow Knight Silksong may have overshadowed 2025's best game expansion. Did you know that Indiana Jones had a DLC this year? Who knew? Oh, Dark Horses, the media cycle happened so quickly. As I was collecting data at the beginning of November, towards the end of October, right? Dark Horses, Indiana Jones and the Great Circles, incredible, man. If it was released a couple days before Game Awards 2024 took place, it would have gotten nominated for that. Let me just remind you, it would have went up against Baldur's Gate 3. Okay? There was no way this game was ever going to win. Anyway. So it's basically been overshadowed. So what am I doing? What am I doing here? Let's talk about the data analysis and then we'll get into the awards. So I would have loved to do a better screenshot of this, but let's do it, right? It was 2 years ago, man. Oh shit, you're right. Sorry, it went up against Astrobot. No, Indiana Jones went up against Astrobot, and it also went up against Balatro. You're right. And then it was Wukong was the other one, and then I forget the other one. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking 2023. I can't believe I messed that up. Whatever. Anyway, let's talk about stat collection, right? There were 21,000 games. Over 21,000 games released last year, okay? So I need to get stats for every single game. So what I did is I went to GameSpot and I scraped all of the games on there. So it gave me a list of 21,000 games. Out of those 21,000 games, I went to Metacritic and I downloaded 19,000 of them. So I had a 90% hit rate, essentially. So I'm only missing 10% of the games. Out of all of those games, I narrowed it down to 1,280 games. These are games that journalists have been talking about and people have actually left a review on the site. The vast majority of games on Metacritic have 0 reviews and 0 Metacritic scores, okay? This took me a while to download all the information for this for these games. Downloading this many Metacritic pages was 15 gigabytes. Okay, I downloaded 15 gigabytes of data to go through, to the point that Metacritic actually just banned me from their site. I was banned for weeks, man, and it was so weird. I was banned in a way that made like no sense, right? I couldn't browse on Google Chrome, but I could open it up in incognito mode. But if I opened the page too many times, then they would just temp time me out. It was very, very weird, right? And then out of all those games, about 200 of them were on console. Okay, so this is the list we're dealing with. And remember, my whole thesis for why we're doing this is because journalists are the ones that decide this, right? With all this data, you can actually just predict what they're thinking about, right? And then with that, they're probably going to get nominated, right? I made a spreadsheet full of all this stuff. There is so much data here. I don't know how to get this across in like any meaningful capacity. There's also a lot of noise, right? So if we look here, these are all the journalists, right? If we have a look at Metacritic, right? These are all the Metacritic scores that I downloaded. I also cross-correlate all these games with Steam. So I gotta get rid of this data here. So there is a bunch of games here, right? So much. I will not be showing you this entire spreadsheet, but I do want to show you some of this. Where is it? Where's my raw data? Where's the raw data? I can't see it right now. Oh, here it is. I called it raw data. So this is just for Game of the Year, by the way. Because we've got so many metrics, we can rate it based on Metacritic score, we can base it on Steam score, we can base it on Steam score with enough reviews, with score reviews, with ratios, with a bunch of different things. And I did this for basically every single category, right? And for every single category, I went through and I collated all the stuff. You don't really need to know much of this, but I just want you to know I went through and I basically just looked at everything, okay? And with that, I also went through a bunch of journalists' publications and I sampled it. It's not every single journalist because they don't publish their Game of the Year report straight away, but some of them do, and they just can't help themselves, okay? So out of all the publications, I got 24 journalists, which is a pretty good spread out of the, 100. And then, I think sorry, it's not 24, 14. I got 14 journalists. And then I collated all that data as well. So I know which games they're talking about with every single thing, right? So there's a lot of data. That's the point. For Game of the Year, these are the most notable indicators, right? So this is how we arrived at the 6, right? So I looked at Metacritic scores where the Steam reviews were at least over 4,000, right? And these are all the notable ones. So this is just the top 20. I also looked at user scores because critics and gamers don't always agree, right? And there's actually a lot of disparity in some of that, especially for something like Monster Hunter Wilds. Critics really, really love Monster Hunter Wilds, but no one liked it, essentially. I also look at Steam ratio above 4,000. I also look at Steam review count, right? So if we just do this in turn, essentially, here are the top 20 Metacritic games, essentially. I believe that's right. I think this is desynced with my notes. Yeah, so it's these ones here. So you have Hades, Expedition 33, Blueprints, Silksong, Split Fiction, Kingdom Come Deliverance. Abiotic Factor is a interesting game that actually eluded all of my scripts, and it's just an indie simulation success at the moment. Monster Hunter Wilds, Deltarune, Indiana Jones, Silent Hill F, Ball Pit, Look Outside Dispatch, which is a recently released game. So this is going to throw off a lot of my data analysis because I did this like 2 weeks ago. Doom Me-Side, Battlefield, Sonic Racing Peak, and Assassin's Creed, right? So that's it for Metacritic score and Steam reviews. If we just have a look at where is it? Oh yeah, this is user score. This is what people on Metacritic like, so you can have a look at that, right? There are a few differences here. So if you look at this is a Harvest Moon game. So think of Stardew Valley, but they lost the licensing, Harvest Moon. And so it basically came out to this. Sword of the Sea is really, really popular, a really popular console game. And then you have some of these like RPG games as well. Okay, Steam ratio, this is the next one. So you got White Knuckle, making it to the top. Unfortunately, it's not eligible. Same with Schedule 1, it's not eligible, or Repo. None of these are eligible. Also, Tokyo Extreme Racer is like one of the most popular games on Steam. If it wasn't in the list of 20,000 games I scraped that got reduced to 1,000, I haven't seen those on Steam. Okay, so there is a chance that I'm missing some data, but it probably should have turned up. Okay, also Digimon is a very, very surprising entry into that as well. One of the top rated Steam games this year. And then this one here is just Steam review count with above 80% ratio, right? So these are the 4 metrics, right, that we're doing. So I'm doing Metacritic score, which is just journalists. I'm doing users on just forums, which includes console games. I'm doing the most popular games on Steam. And then I'm also doing most review games, so the games that people are talking about the most. These are the 4 categories I'm doing, and these are the top 20 in each one of these categories, okay? So basically, I just get all of those and I collate them down. So the other factor I'm taking into account here is also what journalists are talking about. So from all those websites that were sampled here, I just rank them and we just do a count, right? And we can see that these are all of the people that mentioned Claire Obscure 33 this year. It was basically every single publication I sampled, except Eurogamer. Eurogamer didn't put it on any of their best of 2025 lists. I don't know why. I have no idea. You could probably look, they probably have a review, but just when I was sampling it, it wasn't there. I don't know why. Anyway, all that to be said, this is what you get when you take all 4 of those metrics and then you do a ranking on them, and you also rank it with the journalists, okay? That's a lot to take in. I will not be going into that amount of detail again. But for Game of the Year, I just thought it's worthwhile going through all of that, okay? Cool. So the games that are highlighted in blue are pretty much locked. So they're just the highest in terms of every single thing, right? You found the review for Expedition 33. So this is specifically Game of the Year. When they release our favorite games of 2025, they didn't mention it. So they will have a review though. I do know that. So yeah, if you look at this, all the ones that are in blue, these are locks, essentially. So Kingdom Come Deliverance is going to be there. Same with Donkey Kong Death Stranding. Hollow Knight and Claire Obscure. All of these are locks, right? Essentially, just based on all the metrics that I've looked at. The ones that are in purple, I think it's purple, right? No, dark blue, whatever. Oh, fuck, what happened? Oh, shit. Don't open up the color picker. No. The ones that are in dark blue, Hades 2 and Split Fiction. These two could be neck and neck. The problem is Split Fiction is kind of lost some of its charm, considering it was like an early release, right? And the other thing as well is Ghost of Yotei is a really, really close mention here as well. Split Fiction has more journalist mentions, but it's really hard to press that up against a higher Metacritic score. So I can see it going either way. It's literally either Ghost of Yotei, which is just a console exclusive game, So it's not on Steam. So this just got ranked higher up because of that. It's either going to be Ghost of Yotei or Hades, I'm pretty sure. And Split Fiction basically comes in 8th. And despite everyone really, really liking Blueprints, especially journalists, it didn't quite make the cut because being a puzzle game, there's not a lot of casual people playing puzzle games. So anyway, this is how I arrived at all of these games here, okay? I don't know if we need to talk about this more, but yeah, Hades has the highest Metacritic score. Deltarune has the highest Steam ratio, but none of the journalists are talking about it, so it kind of gets left out. Clair Obscur, just all across the board, is there. And then Split Fiction doesn't quite cut the list. Now, the thing is, if we're talking about historical picks for Game of the Year, there's a lot of parallels between these. So out of the last 6 years, these were all of the games that got nominated for Game of the Year, okay? So this is just from 2019 up to 2024. So you can see this Astrobot, this Balatro, this Black Myth, Wukong, Doom, right? Hades, there's Resident Evil. But if you kind of squint and look at some of these, a lot of these actually overlap with this year. So you have Death Stranding, which had a sequel this year. You had Ghost of Tsushima, which has the sequel for this year as well. You have Hades, which basically has the sequel. It Takes Two is also made by the same people as Split Fiction, right? This year is basically just the sequel of every single game, which actually just complicates things a lot. And so if we go back here, Donkey Kong Bonanza is basically the Astrobot pick for this year, right? So they always love to throw in some sort of Nintendo exclusive game, right? If they can, or they'll do some PS5 exclusive game as well, which was Astrobot essentially. So there's got to be the console game in there. Death Stranding 2 is in there because it was nominated in the past, and also Kojima's on the advisory board. Silksong is basically the indie game pick for this year, if you think about it, because they always love to at least throw in one. So like Balatro was the main one from last year, right? Clair Obscur, without a doubt, don't need to talk about that anymore. Hades 2, I think, just makes it in, right? And then Kingdom Come Deliverance is, I forget what that is a parallel to. I did have a reason for that, but a lot of people just like the role playing, you know, okay? Cool. So with that all being said, Shroud is probably pissed. He's like, what the hell, man? Why didn't you include this? And there's a lot of games I haven't included here. Like there's some failure games like Monster Hunter Wilds didn't make a splash. Neither does Indiana Jones or Doom. Assassin's Creed Shadows I haven't even mentioned like once. And also there was an Elden Ring DLC. Not an Elden Ring DLC, sorry. There was an Elden Ring spin-off, right? So if you look here, Elden Ring normally gets nominated. So you had Elden Ring when it came out, and then you also had the DLC for that coming out. But Elden Ring Night Reign also came out this year, but no one's really been talking about it, and fans were really tepid with their reactions with it. I actually played that game, and I gotta say, I think the one thing that's throwing off people about it is that it's just really, really fast-paced to the point where people can't immerse themselves in the world. There's a lot of beautiful environment art in that game, and you don't really get to spend the time to look at it. And so I think journalists have also just sidestepped it. Anyway, speaking of Shroud and Arc Raiders not making this list, don't worry, I got you, right? If we have a look here, the one thing about Shroud... Oh, do I have a video for this? I don't remember. Oh, fuck, we might. We might. Did I link it? Let me see. I think I downloaded it, right? Quick. Can't stand to agree with what you're saying, that they already know to throw in an indie game in the nominees since 5 years. It's been only Stray and Balatro. Oh, has it really? They've been leaning towards doing it more and more. There's a reason for it. This year, especially, the industry is moving more towards indie. I'll probably talk about it at one point, but that's a fair point to call out. So I'm trying to find one article. I might not have bookmarked it. Does anyone have the Shroud tweet? I'm just looking real quick. I just forgot to just forgot to put in my intro. The intro was the only thing I didn't work on straight away. Nah, it doesn't look like it. Where is it? Betting. I didn't do it. Oh, hey, Real Creative. Proud. I don't think I have it. Can I get it too long didn't read? I mean, we've just started, so you're good. Damn, I didn't... There was like this tweet. I don't remember. I wanted to play the video because it was really funny. Did I really not bookmark it? I'm surprised by that. Apparently I didn't write it in any of my notes either. Shit, man. I'm gonna look for 2 more seconds, and if I don't find it, I'm giving up. Wait, what if I look at my history? Okay, lame. Doesn't matter. Okay, there was a Shroud clip going around. Basically, what he was saying was he doesn't want Expedition 33 to win. There needs to be more multiplayer games recognition. And he said it would be good if there was a category for multiplayer. This is a real thing he said, by the way. I can't find the clip. And then he ended up getting quote retweeted and also fact-checked on Twitter. And people saying, there is a multiplayer category. What are you talking about? Sort of thing. And so it seems like he doesn't really know how any of the Game Awards stuff works. And then he also said it's really, really easy for single player games to win. But don't worry, Shroud, I got you. I got you so much. If you look at the most played games on Steam, a lot of these are multiplayer games overall. Okay. And if you look at Arc Raiders, right? A lot of people are playing Arc Raiders, right? Like it is very, very popular, right? And if you compare this with Expedition 33, I mean, it has more people in it, but that's because it's multiplayer. People are going to be playing it. But if you look at how many copies have been sold between each game, they're actually just the exact same. So Shroud keeps saying it's really, really easy for single player games to do well, but predominantly multiplayer games are the ones that are being played, essentially, especially on Steam, right? But don't worry, Shroud, I got you. I got the best multiplayer nominations for this year. So Arc Raiders makes the list because it's doing really, really well, despite what Shroud thinks about Game of the Year. Battlefield 6 has an 83 on Metacritic, and in fact, there's a lot of people that are really, really interested in Battlefield 6 because it's been several years since a new Battlefield game. Marvel Rivals technically makes it in, even though it's a December release, and it's not really a high Metacritic score, but journalists just kept talking about it at some point. If I am to get rid of any game here, it would be Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals would be one of the first ones I remove, but I don't make the rules here, okay? Mario Kart World is another game that's just going to be put in there because traditionally, sometimes they just throw in some local couch co-op game, whether it's It Takes Two, right? Or it would be like Super Mario Jamboree is basically the idea, right, behind it. And then I have this color-coded, by the way. So let me explain how the color coding works. If anything here is in like orange, I'm pretty confident those are going to get in there. Dark mode has kind of messed up my colors here, but this is meant to be like a yellow. This is, I think this has a good chance. And then the things that are in blue, I'm just really, really uncertain about, okay? But Peak might get in there above one of these two, right? So if any of these fall through, right, Peak is my last option on this, essentially. What else could actually go in here if we were to drop any of these games? Split Fiction would be one of the ones that just goes in there, even though it's local like couch multiplayer, it has a big chance. And then the other one is actually Monster Hunter Wilds. But again, critics liked Monster Hunter Wilds, but fans didn't. So it's really a toss-up. You're just gonna get one game there that isn't like that enjoyed, essentially. Cool. Yeah, and this is all of the games in the past 6 years that have been nominated. And if you think the Mario Kart example is like silly, you got to remember there's also like Party Animals here. There's also Animal Crossing, and Super Mario Jamboree was one, and also Splatoon. So there's a lot of like goofy games that are just being played. Plus Among Us. Oh, did you find it? Did you find the Shroud clip? No, you didn't. It's not the Shroud clip, man. I don't care. So these are all the type of games, essentially. Cool. If you're just ranking popular multiplayer games this year, this is essentially the list. Okay. I believe this is just going off Metacritic score. So if you look at this here, it is crazy that Monster Hunter Wilds is like second, right? And then you have Abiotic Factor. Arc Raiders is only fourth. And then there's also like a few like interesting throw-ins there. I don't know what this game is, but it's multiplayer. And then there's also a few fighting games. Like last year, Tekken was one that got put in there for best multiplayer as well. But there aren't a lot of fighting games that have come out this year that are very, very good. So I don't think any of those are going to get nominated. But Peak definitely has a chance there. And the reason Battlefield 6 is there is just because it's 6th year, essentially. Oh, 7th, right? I started at 0. Why is Split Fiction 0-0? It's because it's the first one I did programmatically. Okay, anyway. Cool. If you have a look just at Steam, not looking at Metacritic, these are all the games, but Schedule 1 and Repo aren't allowed. And then it's a racing game that's really, really popular. A lot of these, I just kind of get ignored because none of the journalists are mentioning it. But there's some like really, really cute games here. It's also interesting that Schoolboy Runaway is here. That meme, like a Russian game. If we filter these to get rid of a lot of the low review ones, it does change a little bit, and Marvel Rivals and Battlefield 6 then actually makes the list. But again, there's a lot of like indie games and friend swap games that have come into the mix, especially because of just the nature of this year. It's just the landscape, essentially. One game I want to point out as well is Heroes of Hammerwatch 2. It's a severely underrated game. Heroes of Hammerwatch 1 came out in like, I want to say 2015, 2016, and it only had a sequel this year. And it's just a big roguelike game where you're trying to progress as like far as you can, but you can play it with friends. But then there's also like a permanent leveling up your character thing that goes into it. Anyway, all that to say, that's the reason for those particular locks. Now, you might be wondering, why isn't Call of Duty on this list? Call of Duty normally makes it. And the thing is we already have Arc Raiders and Battlefield, but there are so many people that are doing nomination locks this year that keep saying Call of Duty should make it in there. And if you look at it, Call of Duty 6, Black Ops 6 got released last year on the 25th of October. So it's not even eligible for this year. You can't even vote for this one. And there was a new game that was released just a few days ago on the 14th of November. But again, the issue is that all the journalists would have already been putting in their ballots for games. So no one's had time to even like play this game. If this game gets nominated, it really is just one of those things of like, well, we just had to give Black Ops 7 a vote, essentially. So I think this is just going to get completely snubbed. It's like pretty much not eligible. Okay. Cool. Let's talk about games I definitely think are not going to get in there in any capacity, right? You might recognize this game, but let's just talk about a few misses this year. Polaris. It was trying to be like an extraction. Not an extraction game. It was trying to be like oh no, it is an extraction shooter, sorry. It was trying to be an extraction shooter game with kind of like Fortnite graphics. Mixed reviews, no one, people didn't really respond to this game in any capacity. Same with Wildgate. Wildgate is also another multiplayer game with furry characters in it, and wasn't really received that well either. Both of these are mixed, essentially. Yeah, so going back to this Splitgate 2 had a whole publicity stunt during the Summer Games Fest. It was trying really, really hard to be a very, very like good shooting game and front runner for multiplayer, but it's kind of just hit the mark and essentially missed the mark. Sorry. It's essentially Halo gameplay with portals. And the CEO was just very strange to the point that a lot of people are making memes about it. Let's just have a listen real quick.
Hey guys, I'm Crew, the co-founder of 1047 Games. When we started Splitgate in our dorm room, we just wanted to make a game we could play with our friends, and 20 million of you played with us.
And then we had to do a media cycle twice because we released it in 2019 and no one knew about it. And it said 2021.
Tired of playing the same Call of Duty every year, and I wish we could have Titanfall 3.
Call of Duty's not even eligible then.
Titanfall 3.
Dude, they're marketing hacking right now. So essentially, this got a lot of blowback of him being on the stage, and a lot of people are looking into the developer and stuff like that, especially because of his hat. But it wasn't received well, and people were complaining about the microtransactions. They set up on stage that there wouldn't be microtransactions, yet they added it on release, and then they deleted it, and people were calling them out for this, but a lot of this was trying to be buried. I also say this during that particular stream, that Splitgate has had several release cycles. Splitgate got released in 2019 with like no reaction at all. And then they worked on it for another 2 years, and then they re-released the game 2 years later. And essentially, they're doing the exact same thing with this game now. They had Splitgate 2 in alpha, and now it's in beta. So give it another 2 years. 2027, Splitgate's finally going to be made well. But the issue is they had it really, really good here, and it's kind of dropped off. Splitgate 2 didn't do as well as they were like hoping. It was only like a third of the players. And it's crazy that they dropped the ball on that. It was interesting because I played it here, but it had like a lot of issues. Anyway, talking about good games, multiplayer games, did you know Among Us 3D came out this year? People just want Among Us, man. Now the thing is it's not going to be voted for, but you can play this today. People are enjoying this more than Splitgate 2. And the thing is this is basically just a VR game, but there is a want for whimsy, okay? All right, it's not all serious arc raiders, okay, Shroud? You know, the big game you should get on is this game, Duck Cove. Duck Cove is the new game that is taking the storm on Steam, right? In fact, it's actually just one of the highest rated games like on my spreadsheet. Non-ironically, when it comes to multiplayer games, it is very, very, very good. Is it different from Among Us VR? No. I don't have the link here for some reason. Let me just bring it up real quick. Duck Cove, Escape from Duck Cove. Yeah, it's this game. Yeah, this got 43,000 reviews, and this is basically what it looks like. Multiplayer games, this is it! You swear this is an industry plan? It's not getting nominated, but people are very much responding to this. They are. Check shit posting. If this is nothing substantial, Rocco, I'm timing you out. I want you to know this. That is very funny. I do like that. Half-Life 2 awards winners 2025 Astrobot. Wait, leaked. What? But yeah. That's the one. I am curious because apparently I didn't put it in my notes. Please forgive me. There is so much that I've been trying to like talk about. But if we go to multiplayer, we only look at the multiplayer games, and then we do ratio, and then we do Steam score. I think Duck Cove is like pretty close. Where is it? Duck. How do you spell this? Where is it on my list? It's not even on my list. I don't even know how I came across this, man. Whatever. Maybe it is on my list. I don't know. How did I find this? Whatever. Duck Cove's a popular game right now. Oh, I do have the stats. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, it had a 300,000 player peak. I don't know why. And 57,000 is actually kind of insane for concurrent. This is like every day, essentially. It is very good. Let me scroll back to here. Is Duck Cop here? No. But like, if you look at like Call of Duty, the new Call of Duty game has 90,000 and Duck Cop's like half of those. it's very strange. Anyway, speaking of games that look like mobile games, did you know you can play shooting games on your phone? Destiny Rising was also in some of those top 20 lists. You might not have noticed it, but it had 1 million downloads on the phone. And people don't have time for really, really serious games. They might not even have computers, man. Yeah, if you look here, this is all the Metacritic scores. It's snuck in there. Destiny Rising as a multiplayer game is actually higher than some of these games here. It's also just below Elden Ring. So if you thought Elden Ring Night Rain was bad this year, or Pokemon Legends ZA, right? People are just going to their phone, essentially. This is the new meta, right? So you could just play shooting games on your phone. Anyway, best mobile games for this year. Let's talk about it, okay? Now, this is a good time to bring it up. The Game Awards FAQ has this line here. It says, expansion packs, new game seasons, DLCs, remakes, and remasters are all eligible in all categories. It's up to the jury whether they deem it to be new, creative, or whether they had a new technical push, right? That is worthy of nomination, okay? So factors such as newness of the content and the price and value are also taken into consideration, right? And if we're talking about mobile games, let me just start again. If we're talking about mobile games, Wuthering Waves and Zenless Zone Zero, just take it hands down, okay? These are two gacha games that literally everyone is interested. There's Genshin Impact, right? But it seems to have fallen off in some aspects with more and more gacha games getting released every single year. The thing is, Genshin Impact got nominated 3 years in a row. So I have these in red here. These are locked, essentially. But if for whatever reason the jury forgets that they are allowed to nominate for expansion packs, these two games will be taken out, and then the rest of them are my picks. Destiny Infinite, how do you say this? I don't even know. This game, and then Pretty Derby Horse Girls is going to be the top 3. And then after that, I don't know. Also, this is the wrong image. That's not even the right image. Did I not fix it? What the fuck? Beyond the Storm is not the right game. That's a VR game. I thought I fixed this. I do have this. Wait, give me a second. Best mobile game. There we go. Boom. Blue Star. It's meant to be that. The slides are wrong. The slides are wrong. It looks like Absu. Yeah. No, it does. No, it should be this. Blue Protocol is the other game. Which is just another gacha game, right? So it's going to be Destiny, Infinity, Horse Racing Girls, Blue Protocol, but it's not reviewed. But if you're looking at all mobile games that have come out this year, that's the only new one that came out this year. If for whatever reason we're only talking about new mobile games, it's this one, and then Expelled is one that journalists have been talking about, and then there's also a Gundam game, because people that play mobile games really, really love their mobile games, right? And they just love Gundam. That's pretty much it. If it's mech, they are all over it. Now, anyway, let's take a time to actually talk about the two games that it really, really should be. And if you're saying, like, what's the new content in this game? I'll show you. People lose their mind for this stuff.
Hello?
Monito, we're back! Huh?
Listen up! If I catch wind of you bullying the mine workers one more time, you're gonna be so cooked! So go eat shit!
So anyway, we have Wolf Daddy as of last month, right? The new content in the game, and you can get it now. on the mobile side. Look at their nice site here with all their brand new characters that you can play. But oh my, there's a handsome fella there that just wants to make you some bread. So that's the Wuthering Waves pick, essentially. And if you're not about, sorry, that's ZZZ. Sorry, Zenless, yeah, sorry. It's a Zenless Zone Zero. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. So distracted right now. But if that isn't for you, then you have Wuthering Waves, which also does the same thing. It does the same cinematic releases, and essentially, this is their new content for this year.
I don't need this now.
Whoa!
Hey, don't damage the evidence. Don't touch the witness either.
So essentially, it's your pick between these two tailed freaks, essentially. And it's the same thing. They actually got a new update coming out in a few days. Essentially, they basically changed their website a little bit, but they have so many characters. I'm only highlighting two, essentially, but they're your Guna Gacha games, right? This one here is attempting to emulate this, but no one's responding to this. This got released. This got released in December of last year, but in terms of views, like the other two have million. This is their play trailer from when the game got released, and this is their highest viewed video. So no one's really resonating with the characters in the same way.
The path of a stylist is never easy. So, are you ready for it? Ready.
So that's what this year has to offer, if we're not allowed ZZZ or Wuthering Waves, right? If we're talking about content creators this year, this one blew up, right? Everyone loves their horse girls, and especially on Twitter, as there was also a tangential trend of just like automatic horse racing games. You've seen this game. It's been on Twitch. It is one of the highest ranked games on Twitch just this year. If you look at content as well, 2025 also peaked. So it should be eligible. It should be there, okay? View count cutoff. It was 1 million. It was 1 million. Yeah, thank you though. Yeah, if we look at this is just a new, oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. So this one's 800,000, but that only came out like a month ago. Okay, let's close some tabs. We don't need so many tabs open. This one here has 2.7. Wuthering Waves seems more popular to some extent, but that was like 6 months ago, right? And then if you look at this one's 1 million, but that's literally their release trailer, and none of their other content has done that well. So yeah, anyway, these are the games, essentially. If for whatever reason the two red games aren't eligible, then my locks are the next 5, essentially. Including Expelled. Expelled is just like a point-and-click adventure game that you can play on your phone, but like literally the journalists will have like no idea. And I mean, like, being real, like, who knows what this one is? Like, people are so mixed on this. Like, the first reviewer here says, I have 100 hours in Blue Protocol and I love this game. And then the next person's like, I have 120 hours in this game and I try to give it a chance, but there are so many issues. So, you know, here or there. And I didn't even go searching for these. I just went on Steam and these are the 2 reviews there. So that's what I have to say about that mobile game. But let's be real. Most people are playing Balatro or Clash on their phones. Every time I take a tram or a train on this, like on Sydney trains, right? These are the 2 games that I see, but these aren't going to get nominated either. And let's be real. Journalists don't know anything about mobile games. You probably don't even know what this mobile game is in any capacity, but this is Project Sekai. It is basically the Hatsune Miku mobile game, rhythm game, essentially, that is really, really popular this year, to the point where you wouldn't even realize that it's Hatsune Miku, but it's basically a VN. So you get story, you get these characters, it's all animated, they have custom music for it, they have new and better writing every single year, and then once you've done that, it just goes into Osu gameplay, essentially. I don't think this is going to get nominated though, because it's too low profile, essentially. But that is one of them. And then there's also Limbus. There's a bunch of other stuff we can talk about. Who cares, right? I only want to date people. If I can date people in Project Sekai, if I can date all of my gacha, sorry, I was thinking about Wolf Daddy again, and also the Wuthering Waves Devil Girl. Oh, if you can date things on your phone, what about dating everything, right? It's basically the same. Also, thanks, Clid. We have Games for Impact, right? We need to talk about this. Now, let me tell you what Games for Impact entails. Games for Impact is for thought-provoking gameplay with a pro-social meaning or message. And these are the locks for Games for Impact, okay? The ones in orange I'm pretty confident about. Date Everything is a bit of a bold choice from me. I would probably drop that down. And then the last two games you have there is Annapurna games, okay? So if you don't know anything about Date Everything, it's a game where you date everything in your house. I have it written down here. It's a game where objects in your house come alive and you can date them. And there's a lot of dialogue. So journalists really like this game, but it's also really mixed. So they said, like, I thought Date Everything was a silly little romance game about flirting with PC desks, but it's actually the best representation of love I've seen in games. If we go to the next one, Date Everything, the game that turns household items into objects of desire. I don't like how you phrase that. But oh my god, the Quirky Simulator is a sly satire of modern dating, relentless abundance. There's a lot of interesting voice actors in that game as well. Date Everything claims to be a dating sim, but it doesn't love or understand its own genre. I'll do anything for love, but I won't play this. Alright, back to ZZZ for you. Sorry. Oh my god. Some of the journalist quotes here. It says, romantic games are one of the most overlooked successes in all of gaming. The writing is often genuinely funny. The slight problem is the game clearly has no idea what a dating sim actually is. And then a different journalist is like, Date Everything understands that relationships, good or bad, are vital to building character. So while it may seem silly at first, it's actually the healthiest depiction of love I've seen in any video game and captures the truest essence of personal growth. Okay? So if we're talking about Games for Impact, right, I just need to mention that we've had bold choices like this in the past. We've had Goodbye Volcano High, which is straight up just like a furry game, right? With a lot of like LGBTQ themes in it as well. And also like explores like similar ideas, right? I haven't played this, but this was like a past nominee example here, right? And then I'll come back to this one. So just keep that in mind, okay? Here are all of the past nomination winners here. If you have a look here, Boyfriend Dungeon was a game made by Kitfox, I'm pretty sure, which GDC, Games Developer Conference, absolutely adores those people like so much. But Date Everything is very akin to that in some sense. But if you're kind of looking at all of the games here, traditionally, there's a few trends that we can see here. So it's any game that has like a personal story to it, struggles, explores any sort of romantic experience, essentially. Very personal stories, stuff that has to do with struggles and death. There's a lot of things there. And there's also a fair few Annapurna games that get nominated under this as well. So one of the ones that I want to highlight is Hindsight. I haven't played this, but this was an Annapurna published game. Venba is just like a cultural game, essentially. Same with Indica. Never and Gris, made by the same studio, essentially. Beautiful artwork, beautiful visuals, essentially. I've played the first one. It's very, very, very good. Chancecina won that category once. So these are games that got put up for nomination in the last 6 years. So they didn't necessarily win, but they received enough recognition to get accolades, essentially. So these are the games that we have, essentially. And so I've already talked about this. You get furry games in the Game Awards, okay? let it be known. This is a very, very cute game that I came across as well when I was like reading some publications. I don't think this one's going to get nominated in like any sense, but it's very interesting going through and seeing what people are actually talking about. Okay, let's talk about the rest of these. So why did I pick the ones I picked? Well, this is made by the same developers as Life is Strange, right? But it's a new set of characters. It has nothing to do like one-to-one with the Life is Strange world, as far as I know. I've watched a little bit about the game, and it's centered around this hole, essentially. It's made by Don't Nod. Lots of people like Don't Nod. So it just automatically gets there. It's also another French studio, so good game for French, good year for French published games, essentially. Yeah, they basically just get nominated. It has an 87 on Steam and a 74 on Metacritic, essentially. And journalists that have talked about this is GameSpot, Rolling Stone, Games Radar, NPR, The Guardian. The Guardian out of all of them. You need to remember, The Guardian, a newspaper publication, has a vote normally in the Game Awards, right? So if they're talking about this game, I wouldn't be shocked if it gets in. Now, I need to talk about this game here. You might be like, what is this game? Now, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but I think it's Desperate, right? It is a soccer football game, okay? Based around Ecuador, if I remember. And journalists absolutely fucking adore this game. So much so that I actually remember seeing this last year before it was even released. When I was looking at last year's Game Awards, right? I kept seeing this game pop up over and over and over again, right? And if you look at this is an article that was written back in 2023, essentially. Journalists have just been on this very, very early. 2023, slice of life soccer game for everyone hits PS5 in 2024. Desperate might be one of the best games ever about childhood, right? A charming slice of life game. Even the news publications are posting about this, right? Like New York Times. I don't know why this one gripped the journalists so much, but it has a surprising amount of mentions for what the game is, right? Wonder Stop is just above this, though. So we need to talk about Wonder Stop. I think Wonder Stop's going to get snubbed this year for a lot of categories, but that's because there's just so many games. It is a 50-50 whether Wonder Stop gets nominated, but it is one of the Annapurna games. I played this on stream, and basically there's just a lot of people will resonate with the talks about like emotions, right? Burnout, trying to decompress, and then also, you know, process trauma. And that basically just fits in with like Games for Impact, essentially. Yeah. So speaking about just like visual experiences, Sword of Sea is a game that all the journalists really like this year. If you haven't seen this, Sword of the Sea, it's on console as well, but it's also made by the same art directors as Journey and Abzu and like all these like other games. Let me bring it up on Steam. So essentially there's a lot of parallels with games that you've already seen. Oh really? Really? Crazy. They always just like to point this out. But like if it isn't obvious, like they're basically just, it's going to be an atmospheric walking sim. Games for Impact, I was like wondering why this would be it, but it's just an experiential game. And Polygon really tried to advertise this as it asks you to fight climate change with the Sixth Sword. So that immediately falls under the definition of pro-social message or meaning. So it's technically allowed if you frame it that way. So that's where that one comes in. The other Annapurna game is To a T. It's just a charming, colorful game. It's made by the same developer as Katamari. You know, the ball pushing game? Yeah, so there's that. Now, if we're talking about snubs this year, I don't think the Game Awards is going to recognize this game, even though that this is one of the highest rated games on Steam. Oh, sorry. It has a really high Metacritic rating, right? It has 89 on Metacritic, but it is very underrated on Steam. It only has 40 reviews on Steam. And I'll just read the description here. So Wednesday seeks to raise awareness about child sexual abuse through a surprisingly hope-filled story. Very, very, like, not seen in terms of just, like, journalists mentioning it. So that's why I don't think it's going to get nominated. But I've heard it's a really lovely game. And if you look at Metacritic scores, this is just all the Metacritic scores sorted. I'm not even doing any data filtering here. If you just look at all of these here, these are the ones that have 90. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And then this is in top 10, essentially. Right above Death Stranding. But there's not a lot of people that have reviewed this game, so this number could change, essentially. How many reviews? There's not a lot of reviews on it. We can just have a look. If we go here, and then... did I filter it out? Yeah, it's filtered out. Oh, that's why we couldn't find Duckov before. Oh, because I had it under multiplayer, but my tags are a bit wrong. Okay, and then if we go here, Wednesdays, it only has 4 Metacritic reviews, which is not a lot. Compared to some of the other games, like if you look at Death Stranding has 152. So its score is more likely. If we do an adjustment to it, I did do an adjustment thing at one point, it would have a 6.5. Just in terms of doing like a statistical analysis on it. It's not going to be above it. I'm not going to get into why that is, but Death Stranding has an 8.8 under the same system. But that being said, there was an Indie Game Awards show that is just completely different from the Game Awards and the Joystick Awards. And Wednesdays actually got a nomination there right beside Wonder Stop, essentially. So it's at least known, essentially. Yeah. So they're all the games for Impact. So it's going to be those 4, and then it's going to be one of the Annapurna games, probably. If not, it's probably going to be Wednesdays. But who's to say? Anyway, talking about very gripping stories, let's talk about Best Narrative. Best Narrative is for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. This is probably one of the most competitive categories, and selecting a top 5 here is actually just like extremely difficult. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33 goes without saying. A lot of people really like the story in this. Ghost of Yotei is actually a game that's doing much better than Ghost of Tsushima. A lot of people are actually responding to it very well. The Ghost of Tsushima, was a PS4 exclusive, but this one's PS5. Critics just really like this, so it's just an automatic, pick. Hades 2 also has good story. I haven't played it. Silent Hill gets a nomination, so does Silent Hill. And then also the 100-Line Defense. Dispatch is a newly released game, so it's hard to say whether the recency bias is going to go in there, but a lot of people are resonating with Dispatch for good reason. And then Death Stranding. I'm not sure about Death Stranding, so everything in here in orange is the ones that I'm locking in. But I could see a world where Death Stranding and Dispatch make it in. So if I miss on one of these, this is why, okay? There's a lot that I'm gonna get wrong, but remember, I gotta go off the data here at times, right? Let me see. I realized there was like a video I didn't play earlier, which I'm a little sad about. Let me get it up real quick. So the whole reason I'm doing this whole like data prediction analysis is last year for the Game Awards, 2024 Game Awards, I spent 3 days sampling all of the journalists sort of websites and reviews and stuff. And with that data, I was just picking the highest numbers for each one based on different metrics. And this is essentially how I did with that stuff. I don't know who's going to win this. I don't know if I can bring it up quick enough. The winner is esports. It's this one. It's FC 25.
24.
No, it's 25. Lol, good one, Jeff. No, it's this one.
EA Sports FC 25.
Got it. This one is so easy. That was so telegraphed by every media outlet. Fucking Astrobot. Or Zelda. It's Astrobot. Yeah, got it. Easy. Easy. The rules here are they can't have released a game beforehand. It's probably Balatro. Okay, that one's pretty easy, guys. There you go. It's gonna be GTA 6. Grand Theft Auto 6. Easy, done. Predicted with ease. Easy. It's okay. It's gonna be Baldur's Gate 3.
The Game Award goes to Baldur's Gate 3.
Easy. The only reason I say that is because their peak players for this year was actually insane still. Let me have a look. That's Frostpunk 2.
And the Game Award goes to Frostpunk 2. Congratulations.
Dude, I'm so fucking right. I did my research. I'm so
sick,
The media
man.
outlets are so predictable this year. This one got the most mentions, right? And it was like higher reviewed. And then if you look at this one, this is the only sports game that also just got a bunch of reviews, despite it being like one of the worst like Steam things. So like these like publications aren't really aligned, but like it had like a high peak player count. I don't know. It's very weird. So basically that's the data analysis that I'm going off. The data shows a lot. It's basically a combination of Metacritic, Steam, and then also just player count. They're the three things I'm looking at, essentially. Also, that's when I still have Whooping Cough. Sorry, I was meant to play that like an hour ago. I just forgot. So when I look at stuff like this, when you're looking at narrative games, these are the ones that people are talking about, essentially. These are past winners out of all of the last like 6 years. There's a few trends that you can see here. So there's a strong focus on just like very, very heavy narrative experience. So Last of Us just absolutely sweeps, essentially. A lot of these are your AAA games, so like God of War, Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, right? You get a lot of the sequel games in there, essentially. And then you can see here you have Ghost of Tsushima, you have Death Stranding is one, right? It Takes Two. You can think of Split Fiction as being the sequel. Silent Hill 2. This was a remake from last year, but the Silent Hill games traditionally like just do well. And then what else do we have here? I feel like I'm missing one. Oh yeah, Hades. Hades also got a pick. The surprise like indie sort of nomination, especially for its time. The two games here that I haven't pointed out, Metaphor ReFantazio, right, got so many awards last year. And similarly, we also have 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. So you have like these anime visual novel games that are doing very, very well in terms of like the Game Awards. Yeah. Sorry, I've lost my place. So these are all of the overlaps. And basically, if you look at this year, all of these games have some sort of sequel this year, essentially. There is basically a sequel to all of these games. So it's kind of hard to pick any of these. Death Stranding 2 is the one that has just gone to the wayside because of this. But we need to talk about the reason why I picked the 100 Line Defense Academy. Because you might just be like, oh, what is this game? Just put Death Stranding or Dispatch there, right? And basically we're going to talk about these two games because these are the outliers. Now, 13 Sentinels is such a good game to the point that I had a friend actually just send me the game. I still haven't played it, but I have the game and I had no idea that it was like a nominee for like best narrative. And they've just gone so much out of this game, essentially. So people love these types of games, right? So this is the one here. And if you've never heard about it, right, you're like, why this anime slop? Right? Get it out of here, right? Journalists are saying this is one of their favorite games that they've played this year, right? And essentially it's got an 85 on Metacritic and it's an improvement over their last game. You might not recognize this game, but you definitely recognize the games that have gone into making this game, which is, oh, I accidentally opened it. Right? Like if you look at this, these are all the journalists talking high praise about this game, right? So it's like 14 games that should be in 2025 Games of the Year contender, right? But it won't be, right? It has hundreds of endings, right? It's a really, really big game. I'm not kidding, right? But you might recognize it from these two games here. You've definitely seen the bear on the side, and the Nonary games, right, is a game that I've also played on stream both of these developers, which are different developers, have come together to make this game, essentially. And it just like worked, essentially. It's got a higher rating than this game, and people absolutely adore this game, right? Speaking of different narrative games as well, Dispatch has already sold 1 million copies, and Ghost of Yotei sold 3.3, which is actually kind of impressive just for a console exclusive game, right? One of their fastest growing like IPs. So I would feel crazy not including Ghost of Yotei, essentially. Yeah. So they're the locks for those. Dispatch, I feel like, is getting a bit snubbed here. If anything, I think the game that's going to get pulled from this is probably Split Fiction. If any of them, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe the Silent Hill game. I don't know. Don't think I've seen the bear. That's crazy, bear. Yeah, it's like everywhere. Cool. Okay, what's next? What's next on my list? Oh, yes. Right, so enough about emotional impacts, right? We want physical ones. We're going to talk about physical impacts now, because we're going to do best sim and strategy game, all right? Enough of these games that are giving me narrative and making me fall to my knees, okay? I want the big strategy games, so things that involve planes, right? Anything like that, essentially, right? So, you've already seen it. So what ticks the boxes out of all of these games? Listen, there's a furry game. Listen. When it comes to strategical games, right? There's this game. Look at this, blending story with action. What is this? Huh? I don't even know how I came across this, man. But there's like this VN sort of game that's tactics based. What the what? Anyway, yeah, best simulation and strategy game. These are the games, okay? DS looking game, yeah. So, these are your simulation games, right? So you get a lot of Anno, Tropico, XCOM, City Skylines. You get Fire Emblem, sort of tile-based tactic games. You get RTS games like Age of Empires. 1 year they picked Inscription, right? And then for some reason, sometimes Mario games get put in there. Like there's Mario plus Raving Rabbids, and there was also Pikmin. So I don't know why. Civilization was pretty low. Anything below an 80 Metacritic is normally considered bad. But journalists can't help themselves but to pick it because it's like the strategy game, essentially. Expedition 33 is a strategy game. True that historically they just go off tile-based games. It doesn't quite fit in there. I could see it going in there, but the second you do that, you have to open up like every single JRPG game, which I guess a lot of these like are. Essentially. Yeah, what do we got here? You might notice that one of the games that I was talking about in the last category, the 100 Line Defense, it's also a tactics-based game. So I just see that's going to get nominated. These two are basically locked. Final Fantasy Tactics, they love their Final Fantasy games. And then, I don't know why, but people keep talking about 2 Point Museum. And then it's a toss-up between these two, essentially. Yeah. Speaking of furry games, there is Sunderfolk, which is a game, right? I came across this at one point because Animal Fest is on right now. This is basically just a tactics-based game with cards in it. And one of the most surprising things that I saw in this is that Matt Mercer played this game with a bunch of people, which is the guy that voiced Cassidy in Overwatch and does a bunch of D&D stuff. I don't know where this advertising came from, but these are other games that could realistically make it in there, but I don't think it will, right? Yeah, 2 Point Museum targets theme hospital nostalgia crowd. Yeah, no, definitely. Other snubs, by the way, if we're just looking at simulation games. My Summer Car actually got fully released this year. It doesn't really fit in any other categories. I'm just going off Steam tags. Technically could, but like it won't. Digzium is a very interesting highlight as well. It's in the top 20 on my spreadsheet, and it's literally just like this big like management idle game, essentially. I don't think this will get nominated either. Nubby's Number Factory is one of the highest rated Steam games, like in terms of like ratio as well. Literally think Peggle. Okay, Peggle and strategy. People love these simple games, and I played Peggle this year. I really should be playing this game. This is in my Steam library and I haven't played it. The Farmer was replaced as an interesting highlight that I don't think we will see this, essentially. This is not something we're going to see. Yeah, so these are the three games. Talking about some of these other ones here, Islanders. Islanders, you would have seen, maybe, because it's made by the same developer as this guy, which is just some random content creator on YouTube. Will you snail? They've got a studio now where they really try and focus and make like a specific game, essentially. No power washing sim? Oh yeah, power washing could be another one as well. Yeah. Oh my god, I just closed my slides. Why did I do that? I was trying to like close tabs. Right, let's go back. So yeah, that's all I think for simulation stuff. Anyway, we need more action in these games. We're gonna blend gameplay with narrative, okay? So this is your action adventure. Action adventure I find actually kind of hard to nail down, but it's basically combining combat with traversal, and sometimes they have puzzle solving in it, right? This is typically what the category boils down to. So if you have a look at all the historical picks, right, it's basically your sort of like exploration narrative games with like a little bit of like puzzles and stuff. Same 5 games. Yeah, the only difference here is that Indiana Jones is put in, just because the journalists really like it. I'm not convinced with Indiana Jones. I think Ghost of Yotei could overtake it, but these are the 5, essentially. These are all the games that just fit action adventure, right? So if you sort this, I believe this is Steam sorting. These are the top ones, which is interesting because some of these picks just aren't up there, essentially. Expedition 33 is, so it's Split Fiction, right? But then you start looking after that, and you're starting to get indie games. You're starting to get Easy Delivery Co., which is just Death Stranding Light, essentially. Blood Typers is one. The Midnight Walk is a game that journalists really like. We'll see that later. Peak. South of Midnight is also another one that journalists really like. And then if you keep going, like across like all of this, right, it's a while until you get to Indiana Jones, right? It's not really a forerunner in terms of this. Yeah, if you get rid of a lot of the Steam games, this is kind of what you're left with when you're just looking at rankings. And I'm pretty sure this is going off Metacritic here. Surprisingly enough, if you look at first place here and fourth place here, there is a surprising game here, and it always comes back to some sort of furry game. And there's only one journalist that has mentioned this, right? So I don't think it's going to get nominated, but I mean, just have a look at this, right? This is basically like your RPG type game, essentially. Is Indiana Jones worth playing? People that love the IP absolutely adore the narrative of it. But yeah, this game, essentially, which is like so surprising to me. It looks like it has like so much character in it. Yeah, no one's really talking about this game. But it's Among Us doing that, dude. I don't know what Among Us was doing that now you pointed out. Tags! There's a bit of noise in my tag collection. Another surprising game is this one. You typically wouldn't see this nominated here, but Shut in Order is also a really high rated game. I don't know if it fits anywhere else, but it's also action adventure. You can see the type of gameplay. I think this is going to get missed, essentially. Speaking of other snubs, Metal Gear Solid Delta had a remake this year, and people fucking love their Metal Gear Solid games. They love it so much, right? I don't know how the jury is in terms of remakes, but if any game is going to surpass any of the nominees that I've placed up there, it's probably going to be this one, right? You can see that's like pretty highly favored. So these are the picks. Not many snubs, I must say. Clair Obscur, I've talked about a bunch. Donkey Kong is basically the Ash Robot equivalent of last year's nomination. Death Stranding is there because Death Stranding 1 got nominated in a prior year. Indiana Jones is just what the journalists are trying to push, essentially. And Split Fiction, typically they have some sort of like technical Marvel game in there, and Split Fiction did a lot of like interesting mini game stuff in their games. If you look at prior nominees, you have Stray, Tunic, and Ori and the Blind Forest. And so I think it makes sense that Split Fiction would just be in there, especially because they're trying to appeal to at least casual gamers in some sense. Looks like the 50 Games of Wands was popular earlier this year. UFO 50. Yeah, imagine. yeah, it is kind of UFO-ish, the other game. Yeah, so that's all of those ones. Another snub here is Assassin's Creed Shadows. I just have not talked about this game at all in any capacity, despite seeing so many ads for it. I even put it in my April Fool's Day stream. Assassin's Creed Shadow is a gorgeous retread of a tight RPG mechanic, right? Left me wanting more, right? And then you read this review and it says, this was supposed to be a meme game, but it was unironically more fun to play than Assassin's Creed Shadows. And you might be like, what the fuck is this review about? Turns out there was another game made on the exact same day. It was released on the exact same day as Assassin's Creed Shadows, essentially. And weirdly enough, it totally eclipsed it. So, did Assassin's Creed Shadows get snubbed? No, it got overshadowed. It got completely ruined by this game, essentially. Yeah, and this is basically the parody game, and people just love this way more. I mean, this is what the game looks like, essentially. And it's kind of a piss take, but it's just made by like one guy, essentially. It's just an indie game. So it's crazy to think that Assassin's Creed Shadow would even make it in terms of, you know, best action adventure game, when people like this way more, right? Talking about other flops this year, Hyper Light Breaker, completely negative reviews. A lot of people were hoping a lot for this game, but it just didn't make it, essentially. And in fact, their entire team got let go, essentially. Yeah, I'm just trying to see whether there's any other games I want to mention here. No, yeah, so that's basically it. There's a few others, like there's Like a Dragon, which is like a Yakuza game. There's also Ninja Gaiden 4, Dying Light Beast, and Borderlands 4. I haven't mentioned any of these, but I don't think we're going to see those either. Best Action Games. Okay, so Best Action Games, if you look at these, this was my original pick, just based on action, but I think I was completely wrong on this in like every single aspect, because Avowed is more of an RPG game and Battlefield 6 is like a shooter game, and shooting has already been in there. So I basically took these out, and essentially that's why the redo was there. But it's really confusing because a lot of the tags and what our journalists were talking about were kind of leading towards these games. And if you look at the past winners, here's a raw list. I don't have like a nice picture for you for this, but like if you look at these are completely different, right? So it's slightly different from action adventure because it's more focused on the combat. Okay, it's not really too much concerned with narrative essentially. It's interesting that Half-Life Alyx got put in here, but I haven't played this yet. But a lot of these have more focus on just like the game to like the game-to-game moments, essentially, in the mechanics. And essentially, you can see like fast-paced games like Neon White are in here, as well as like Call of Duty and all like your shooting games, big games, and stuff like that. If we just go off raw sort of action games, these are the selections, essentially. This is Metacritic. Silksong's first, then Kingdom Come Deliverance. They just love this. Monster Hunter Wilds, which I will just not understand why that's so high. And then you also have Anton Blast, which is the Pizza Tower equivalent game of this year. And then you can see you got your Doom, you got your Borderlands, you have Battlefield, but I don't think you're gonna get that. And then right up here you see Avowed, but it's really misleading to pick this. I don't think we're gonna like see this. And then also you have Escape from Duckov. So do with that what you will. Yeah, this is based on Steam review. There's a lot of noise here, so you kind of have to like skip a lot of like the indie game sort of like selections here. But you can see there's like Kingdom Come Deliverance, and then after Kingdom Come Deliverance, there's the first Berserker. It actually just like sneaks its way in there, which is actually the complete opposite of what we have here in terms of Metacritic. This one's much lower, but people that are playing games actually like this way more. It's actually higher than Silksong in terms of rating, which is bizarre, but I mean, this is just going off the data, okay? And then you have Elden Ring, Night Rain, and Doom as well, right? So revising the list with this, this is the picks, essentially. The one in red is there purely because some journalists were pushing it really, really, really hard, okay? Doom is there as a historical pick. Silksong should make enough sense. Same with Kingdom Come Deliverance, they're just high up. Hades is also his historical pick, right? And then Monster Hunter Wilds journalists just love. So if this red one that I have here, this is a very, very bold guess from me, right? If we just remove this, it's going to be these first five, essentially. I reckon it's going to be Doom, Hollow Knight, Silksong, KCD 2, Hades 2, and the Monster Hunter Wilds. These are the five. But if this one's put in, I think one of these two games is getting taken off, essentially. Yeah. Okay, what do my slides say? Yeah, so these are the three publications that even like mentioned this game. And there was this one guy that's like, this game's really brutal. It's impressive Souls-like that makes pushing through its devastating bosses worth the effort. And this is by John. Look at John's favorite Souls-like games. It's a Souls-like game. It's action. In his article, he had, I'm exhausted after playing the first Berserker. My hands ache, my brain is fried, and I often had to step away in frustration. In a long, brutal, difficult game, and I'm often expected to perform to near perfection. And then it's like, it's undoubtedly one of the hardest games I've ever played, but I would encourage everyone to play it. I was like, damn, man. Damn. Okay, sure. Let me see if I can like bring this up. Yeah, there's nothing else there. I thought there was something else I wanted to say with that. Yeah, so it might be there. If we're talking about snubs, games I didn't include is Dynasty Warriors. Hell Is Us, despite it being like mentioned. If you haven't seen Dynasty Warriors, it's basically like a hack and slash game. And it's just big action. I think KCD 2 eclipses this in like every sense. Again, Borderlands 4 doesn't even make the list in like any capacity. The only other game I missed here is Anton Blast. I did want to bring this up. I don't know if I have a link to it. I don't think I do. I don't. Let me just bring it up here because I want you to see this. But I don't think it's gonna quite get there. If anything, it's probably gonna get like an indie game nomination. But this is what the game looks like. It's got like wild art, and basically people are just comparing this to Pizza Tower, if anything. Yeah. Anyway, there are barely 10 good Soul-likes. Yeah, I know, right? He just mentioned like Elden Ring. Anyway, let's talk about Best RPG. This basically is the exact same stuff that we've been talking about. A lot of these categories just blend into each other, so I'm not going to belabor it, but I think Avowed makes more sense here. And then Elden Ring, Night Ring will probably just make it here. There's not really that many RPGs that came out. If anything, Clair Obscur is just going to like take it. And then Xenoblade Chronicles is a remake. I don't know if it should even be allowed, but like if it doesn't get nominated, I have no idea. No, oh yeah, Oblivion had a remaster. True, I forgot about that. Maybe Oblivion takes the spot. There just wasn't a lot. You would have to start going to like indie games, like maybe like I don't know if you want to count Deltarune or not. It's really up to the jury. That one's like really iffy. Talking about Wuchang Fallen Feathers, this is one game that's just been snubbed from like every single conversation because like after like last year's debacle with Black Myth Wukong, the journalists kind of learned not to say anything, which is so bizarre, right? So I realized I hadn't even like talked about this game in any capacity. Even I like went past it, but it is high in a lot of the sort of screenshots that I've been showing. But it's essentially this, right? So last year there was some drama about Wukong being one of the highest nominated games and being nominated for Game of the Year, despite it having less than a 90 Metacritic score, which is kind of bullshit anyway, considering that they've nominated games that have less than 90 Metacritic anyway. But the thing is, here's the kicker, right? It got into the nomination for the Game Awards, which meant that the majority of the jury voted for it, right? And that's why it made it there. And then there was publications like Polygon bitching about the fact that it shouldn't be there considering it's so low rated on Metacritic. But if you looked on Steam, it was really, really high on Steam, essentially. And so essentially they brought attention to their own like games that they didn't like, and they made it a whole like East versus West thing. It was very, very strange. But I brought this up to a student that didn't really care about games, but even they knew about Wukong, and they said it was very, very like good as like a cultural like icon and stuff like that. Anyway, there's more games like this. This is one that should make it in terms of like RPG. I just don't know if it will. Right, and especially because if we just look at the ratings here, right, Monster Hunter Wilds and Wuchang Fallen Feathers, they both have lower Metacritic scores than Everhood 2, which I played this year, and Everhood 2 has insane music, it has fun gameplay, but the story absolutely irks me. I don't understand, man. I don't understand how they're both worse than Everhood 2 in any way. It's so dumb, man. It's so bad. Game's also controversial in China. Yeah, I don't think it's going to see anything, these games. But anyway, I thought I'd bring it up because it was in the data. And I mean, if Everhood 2 is going to be like even a talking point to RPGs, these two games should be talked about as well, because Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 came out, and also Look Outside. These are just two better games that are actually at the top of like all the indie game nominations. So that's Best RPG. I don't know what else you put in there. These are different games that could realistically put in there. This is just one of the hardest categories for me to do it. Deltarune's early access game to you? Yeah, no, that's fair. There is just that one clause that says if there's enough substantial release. So Deltarune can make it in there, technically, because they did have like an actual proper release, even though it's still like sequential. Anyway, talking about games and popularity, right? I want to take some time to just talk about games that just aren't really going to be seen, like at all. This doesn't really fit into any categories, right? But Digimon Storytime Stranger, right? I don't know where this fits in, but it's the top 22. It's 22nd on my spreadsheet if you sort by Steam ratio for games that have more than 4,000 reviews. It's a 93% and it has a 79 on Metacritic. But it was on the front page of Steam for a while. People really, really fucking love this game. And if you look here, remember how I said Metal Gear Solid would probably be like snubbed for like a narrative game? This guy loves Metal Gear Solid and this game, essentially. This is just in that pre-stream chat for tomorrow. People are comparing this to Pokemon, but like even better, right? A lot of people really, really like Digimon, right? And so I'm just taking the time to talk about games that don't really fit in anywhere. Speaking about VN games, this one is also just really, really high. It's right below Abiotic Factor as well. It's got a 96% ratio, right? And it's a non-existence of you and me, essentially. I don't really know what else to talk about in terms of like this game. It is just like one of those like hidden gems, essentially, right? And yeah, and if you're looking at the raw list here, I mean, this is kind of it, right? Yeah. We need to mention Abiotic Factor, right? Because like if you're comparing, if these two are like right next to each other, Abiotic Factor, right? It's just a simulation type game that didn't even, I don't think it's going to receive any nominations either. Abiotic Factor. I got asked to play this with a few friends actually, but it's just an open world survival game essentially. But then it's just like a management resource game. It's also crafting essentially. Thank you, Digital Warrior 4 numbers. Digital Warrior 4 numbers, my favorite, man. But yeah, Abiotic Factor is really popular this year. I don't think it's going to get any votes for anything. And then if you look just at all the raw stats, so this is filtered for games that are above 1,000 reviews, right? And then sorted by Steam ratio. This is the list. You can see there's a few indie games here, but Look Outside is one of those like RPG games that I was just talking about then. And then it's Me-Side, right? Like if we're saying Abiotic Factor and Non-Existence of You and Me are like really, really big games again, these two are really, really big games. And I just got to point out, I've been talking about Me-Side all year. Me-Side is like one of my absolutely favorite games, right? Okay, if you're just talking about TGA, you know which game I feel like is going to get like shafted is Me-Side. Think about Me-Side. Me-Side, my favorite game of the year that won't win game of the year, right? Me-Side is like right at the end of December. That game has too much polish for like 3 developers. It's actually like kind of insane.
Amazing what these solo devs can do today.
Yeah, have you heard of Me-Side? Me-Side's not winning any awards during TGA, Jeff Neely, I already know. Me-Side is very good. Too bad it's gonna get snubbed. You really want Me-Side to win? I think Me-Side's good. It's just no one's gonna talk about it because no one ever nominates horror games except Silent Hill. I'm gonna crash out if Me-Side doesn't win Indie Game of the Year this year. And you know what? It's not going to. But yeah, my Indie Game of the Year for this year is Me-Side. And you're like, because that came out in December 2024. And I'm like, fair. Like, it was released in December 11th, but you got to remember the award show happens earlier, which means that some of the games that are at the end of 2024 are actually up for nominations. That's why I'm saying Me-Side is going to get snubbed. Fucking Me-Side technically counts. I know it says last year, but for TGA it counts. But this is never going to fucking make it. What are you voting for, Ivanex? I'm like, oh, Blueprints Game of the Year. No, I would vote for Me-Side. Honestly, like that's what I would do. I haven't looked at like single player game release stats, but like some single player games are like really good. Like I will be saying this all year. I really like Me-Side. Me-Side is fantastic. Lovely single player experience. I would love to have more games like Me-Side. Not even that it's horror, not even that it's anime, right? I just really like the polish on that game, how it looks. It had like a good progression, and like I got to the end of that and I was like, wow, sort of thing. So there's a lot of interesting games this year, and I couldn't believe how locked in I was to one of the top games this year, right? So like we're talking about the Non-Existence of You and Me, like people really like this game, but it just doesn't receive enough attention. Similar with Abiotic Factor, right? But literally like out of all of the data that I scraped, I was in the top 6 essentially, with like notable game releases. Like I was so locked in with knowing this game, but it's not going to make any category, so I have to talk about it here. But the more impressive thing is I didn't know about Look Outside at all, and there's one content creator that actually called this out before I even saw it, right? And you might call me $1 Jerma, right? AUD Jerma, right? But Jerma was actually more locked in.
This music reminds me of Look Outside, which, by the way, is probably the game of the year, by the way. I played it off stream, and I'm sorry, it was an unbelievable experience. Game of the year. It's game of the year. If you haven't played Look Outside, go get it right now. That is a. Hold on. Wait, B and C, right?
So it's incredible to know that like Germa's also just locked in here and he hasn't looked at like any of the data, he just knows. And the thing is if you're looking at all of these games as well, they all fall under horror, essentially. Look Outside, Me Side, The Non-Existence of You of Me, right? Like these games are just like really, really popular. In fact, like Me Side's just eclipsing, but like it's kind of like not a fair comparison. And like if we're being real, like it's only got like a third of their reviews, but like even then, like horror doesn't like get enough recognition, right? This is what Look Outside looks like, right? Germa says it's really, really good. I actually want to check this out now because of that. And so horror just like gets snubbed a lot of the time. We're not going to see a horror category in the Game Awards, but Polygon was talking about horror games, and these are some of the horror games that they just mentioned. But even then, they're just missing some of like the more notable horror games here. Like they didn't pick Me Side, they didn't pick Look Outside. Like it's very, very strange space for like horror games. But there's a lot of good horror games. So these ones are the top horror games for this year, right? There's not going to be a category for it, but I just want to point out that in the indie space, these games, really, really good, essentially, right? A lot of people are liking these games, especially No, I'm Not Human. There's a lot of like memes that are being made for this. And Midnight Walk, this is maybe the only horror game that we're going to see in maybe several categories. Look Outside has a chance in debut indie, essentially. Other games that are out this year that just aren't going to get any recognition is this one. This one's like really popular. Also talking about horror games, I didn't mention this, sorry. You have this, you got Chronos, The New Dawn. This is a horror game that came out that people really like. Silent Hill F is one, which is like the only, Silent Hill just gets a pass. Hell is Us was mentioned by journalists, and also Dead Take, which is a narrative-rich game. But yeah, talking about narrative games, this. What's it called? Road of Empress? I forget what it's fucking called. Is that? Oh, Little Nightmares 3. I missed the Little Nightmares 3 off my list. You are right. Yeah, Road to Empress. It's interesting how this took over content creator space. It's just like a really, really story-rich, like, what do you call it, FMV game, essentially. You also just have like a bunch of like cute games, which I'm not going to get around to. So like Duck Detective looks interesting. You have a game like this, which is The Seat Taken? There's a lot of cozy games. This is Tiny Bookshop. There's a lot of really, really popular games on Steam that are just like little cozy experiences. If you did top 5 cozy experience games, these would be the ones. Easy Delivery Co. basically took the Death Stranding mechanic and then just made it low poly. Mega Bonk is also just like really popular as well, right? It's basically Vampire Survivors mixed with what's that other game called? I'm thinking, oh man, Risk of Rain, right? And then you have Power Wash Simulator 2. It could make it under the simulation games, like strategy and simulation, but I don't think it will. Okay, and then you also have The Keeper, which is a Double Fine game. I'm pretty sure it's one of the developers on there. And weirdly enough, Jeff Neely has played this game, but it's basically a modern point-and-click adventure game, right? That being said, there's so many games that are just popular, and there is one category under TGA, which is audience pick. And I've made no predictions for it. Basically, everyone can nominate what games they think is the best for the year. That will probably get released tomorrow, like the slots for that, and then they'll announce that later. I'm not even going to try, because there's just way too many games, and I just got to remind you that this all just started from the fact that, like, people like games like Digimon, right? So, have you not played Power Wash 2? It's perfect. Yeah, okay. I know. Let's talk about movies. I'm just going to talk about a bunch of stuff that I don't know, because if I can't predict what games are going to be popular in audience vote, there's a bunch of other stuff I can't predict. They have a category of best movie adaptation. Here's a bunch of movies that got released this year. If we're being real, Minecraft's the one that's probably going to win it. I don't know why this is a category that exists in the Game Awards. I don't really care too much. Goodigo is the coveted movie guy, so if I missed something, let me know. But Arcane season 2, one of the last episodes was during December, so it counts. Or it was like November. It just got the cutoff period for it. There's a new Mario movie coming out, right? There's a Mortal Kombat movie. Last of Us, one of the series had the exact same thing. It was right at the end, essentially, right? They wouldn't dare let Minecraft. You don't think? I had more notes on this, but when I was making slides last night, I kind of just lost them. So I don't know where my notes are for this. But there's also a Five Nights at Freddy movie coming out in December, Silent Hill, the new Mario movie. And then there's also a bunch of other mentioned shows here, right? If you look at this, with so many games being made into movies and TV shows, what about Blueprints? People approached Blueprints, this puzzle game that came out this year, and said, hey, do you think you want to make a movie adaptation to this? And Tonda Ross said no. No, it's a standalone project. Get lost, right? But people are looking to make games into movies, and Death Stranding actually got an announcement for this, which is insane, right? So GG Kojima finally making movies, right? Also, there was an announcement for Overcooked. Weirdly enough, that's another game that I have on my desk right here. Overcooked, here! Imagine that as an A24 Netflix adaptation of the game. So, anyway, that's just a thing. Best voice and performance. I couldn't be fucked to make slides. But Too Long Didn't Read. Basically, Troy Baker and Indiana Jones is going to get picked. That is a thing I know. And if we just go here, we could just look at my raw picks, because I'm not going to do anything else. No, that's not it. Where is it, man? Maybe it's in my shortlist. Shortlist here. All right, let's go down here. All right, so we have Troy Baker in Indiana Jones, Jennifer English in Expedition 33. I don't know how to say his name, but it's another guy in Indiana Jones. We have Alex Jordan from The Alters. I didn't even mention The Alters. Alters were a thing. And then we also have a voice actor from Death Stranding 2. There's a lot of like other people here that I do have written down, but like, you know, I don't think any of these are going, like, listen, there's too many. And especially with Dispatch being released, that can just be changed, essentially. So, yeah. Where's Hornet's voice actor? Yeah, maybe Silksong goes in there, but the one I know for certain is that Indiana Jones is going to be in there. All right, let's talk about Best Score in Music. Best Score in Music. Claire Expedition 33 is just going to take it. Deltarune has good music. Doom is a historical pick, always gets there. And then Mario Kart. Mario Kart has so much music in it, man. We love the... Love it so much. Let's take a listen to some of these, by the way. So Expedition 33, if you just haven't heard these tracks, listen. Listen now. So, the interesting thing about these, especially, these songs have a lot of views. So it'd be crazy if this wasn't even nominated. Now, one song I personally like is this one, right? I don't know how to say the dog's name, but it's a Monaco, right? Only 1.7 million views. The insane thing about the studio is that it's just a bunch of ex-EA developers essentially making this. But they put a lot of effort into their music. It is like absolutely insane, right? And the dog actually got like a nomination. No, it has like a page on their website of like Happiness Manager, essentially. Very, very cool song. So basically my reasoning behind these picks here is I'm just going for like high viewed songs, right? And if we're talking about high viewed songs, Deltarune had one, right? This one just has 13 million. This was 5 months ago, right? But then it feels really weird because like, when I listen to this, I'm like, are they really gonna play this at the Game Awards? But like, this resonates with a lot of people, right? Like, hey Adam, what's up? Right? His soundtrack's 8 hours long. Yeah, there's so much music in it now. So much. And then there's another Deltarune song, right? I really like this song. This is really cool. I'll just skip ahead to here. Skip to like the one part where it's silent. Like, listen to that. It's so cool. Great melodies, man. And I mean, like, Undertale music has always just overtaken the internet, so it'd be crazy to think that this wouldn't get nominated, right? Let's listen to Doom real quick. I feel like Doom makes a lot of sense. Dude, power chords, yes! Give me my fifths in my music! Easy! Right, so you got Doom. Doom has 1 million as well, right? So quite like substantial. And I mean, here's another track as well, right? This is another one with 1 million. It's good, but not Doom 2016 good. Yeah, so Doom 2016 is like one that like received a lot of awards. If we look at Mario as well, Mario's like not even fair. They had like, I think it was like 300 tracks or something. And I mean, it's just your typical Nintendo music, right? Insane, right? I'll leave this one playing for a little bit, right? So these are the picks. I was basically going off view count, right? And then South of Midnight is just a journalist pick. It has nowhere near 1 million, right? So if we kind of look at these like real quick, right? We have, if I know how to read my thing, Mario Kart, 300 plus tracks. It's an insane amount of music. There's no way that like I can listen to all the music. So there's 1,000 games I have to go through in terms of data analysis. If you think about it, like if you were to play every game, you would have to play 4 games a day, right? Which no journalist is doing. This is why you have to aggregate stuff. But when it comes to music, there's no way I can listen to all this music. So I just have to go off stats essentially, right? And these are just the high ones, but for whatever reason, all these journalists keep mentioning South of Midnight. And I was like, what is happening, man? And there's one here, right? If we're talking about snubs, Keep Driving had really surprising music in it for just a driving game, right? It was a lot of licensed music, and journalists also like this. This was on the same list of just like underrated music, essentially. So there's like a page here where it's like, yep, South of Midnight should be a midnight walk. And I'm like, why these ones? And this is when I start realizing music is very subjective to the point where it's like, how do you even do this? There's no data that I can go off because it's just mood based, right? One of my personal favorites here is just Wonder Stop, right? 2 hours of extra music with the other release. But weirdly enough, this was quite tepid for fans because C418 made this, right? Which is the same like composer as the Minecraft music. But reading forum posts and stuff, they were saying, yeah, I mean, like it's well made, but it sounds like he made it for a video game. He didn't really make his signature sound. And I was like, what, man? That's a bit loud. Oh yeah, thanks. So I was like, what the hell, man? It's so weird. So it's one of these things where it starts becoming like very, very subjective, right? To the point where I realized I have no idea what I'm talking about, but neither does the Grammys. The Grammys nominations came out. This has nothing to do with games. They just said, here are the best music from video games. And if we look at it, there is Everhood 2, which I mean does have good music, but what? Hurdling? What's Hurdling, man? Rift of the Necro Dancer? Huh? What is Sono Kuni? Kunai? Sword of the Sea? Sword of the Sea, the experiential journey game? Wheel World? These are none of the music that I just mentioned. Zero. The only 2 I know here is Everhood 2 and Sword of the Sea, right? And this actually caused a lot of controversy because where is Clair Obscur? Expedition 33. It got no nomination in any capacity. And a lot of people are pissed about this. And I was just like, what the fuck, man? And people on Reddit took him as like, it was just snubbed from the Grammys. I don't know how they pick it. I have no idea, but it's just not a game that's there. So anyway, screw it. I gotta revise my thing. And I didn't make the picture for it. So my guesses are wrong. Here's the new list. I think it's gonna be Expedition 33, Silksong, Doom, Sword of the Sea, Death Stranding. Fuck it. They're the top music. Because at this point, we're just trolling, right? No one knows, man. And the reason I know this as well, and I think Adam just mentioned this, there's video game charts, which I was browsing on a train for days. These are all the music that they were mentioning, essentially, right? And if I go through this, half of this list doesn't make any sense either. But notice South Midnight is there again. So like maybe I'm underestimating South Midnight, right? And it's just, I can't even pick that. But it's like so weird. It's like, do I pick Donkey Kong? Do I pick Ghost of Yotei? Because here's the thing. People really appreciate realism in their music, right? But I was scrolling through this for hours. No mention of Wonder Stop. No one cares about Wonder Stop at all. So Wonder Stop's going to get snubbed. There's a lot of like people saying Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has good realistic music, but it's a lot of orchestral stuff. So I just don't know. That's the list that I'm going with. So remember, I started with this, and now I've completely flipped, and I think it's this now. I really don't know. This is a loss for me. Anyway, let's talk about best audio design, something that I can't actually wrap my head around, right? So this is recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design in video games, right? And last year it was Astrobot, Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and then it was Hellblade 2, Silent Hill 2. Okay? Other historical picks in the past is Doom, Death Stranding 2, Silent Hill, and Ghost of Yotei, right? And you might be wondering, like, why is it like Silent Hill? Why is it Death Stranding? And these are like your realism picks. They love music. They love sound design that just has a lot of realism to it, okay? Right? And so like I was trying to like look at like interviews like when it comes to like music performance, and like if you look at GDC, like this is what they say about music.
Simplistic questions about music, and this was one of them.
So it's, in your opinion, what is the primary role and or function of music in a narrative gameplay experience, right? So that last category where I was like, I have no fucking clue. If you just ask like a bunch of people, they just say it should support the narrative. So people are conflating their musical experience with the game, which is not bad to do, but that's kind of what we're going to see with the nominations. But with the audio design, it's meant to feel very, very satisfying. It is like the complete opposite of that, right? So when you look at Silent Hill F, this is just some random tweet. They were just like, oh my God, sound design's so good, right? Especially on my headphones. Came across one article from a journalist that's like, do you need a gaming headset for Silent Hill F? No, but you won't catch me playing it without these headsets on. And then he just shilled a bunch of headsets and was trying to sell it under the guise of sound design. Very crazy. Now, we're going to talk about guns, right? Sound design in guns is actually a lot more complicated than you would give it credit for. And I actually really like sound design stuff. I actually did sound design a little bit at uni, right? And the thing is that here's the thing, right? Journalists just love gun noises. Don't know why, right? I used to watch sound design shit at one point, and so they're just going to like pick this stuff, like
how many layers were used in this particular weapon, but usually guns can be broken down into 4 audio components: the close layer, a mechanical layer, a sub-bass layer, and a distant layer or tail. The tail is something that...
And so he just goes on about like, if you record like a real gun noise, it sounds awful compared to like what they do in games as well. Apparently I have this linked as well. I don't remember what this is for.
Some people, after hearing real guns for the first time, are shocked by how different it sounds to what they've heard in films and games. If you think about it, the vast majority of times you're listening to gunshots, you're looking at a television screen, not the real thing. Believe it or not, authentic gun recordings don't really sound that cool. A ton of processing goes into making sure that when you see them in games or on TV, they hit hard and sound like they're really kicking you in the chest. In fact, let's walk through it. Let's go step by step in taking a gun recording from realistic to game-worthy.
And then, anyway, so the point is, I don't see why video game journalists always pick guns for their nominations, but typically they pick Call of Duty. Call of Duty did get released like a few days ago, so maybe that would be it. But if you're just looking at guns in general, I just picked Battlefield 6 because that's just the one being talked about. But honestly, it could be any other gun game. There's going to be a gun game in there, essentially. That's what I think. Silksong. Silksong has actually impressive sound design. This is what I actually think when I think sound design. Because the thing with the guns, right? When you look at GDC or like any talks about that, there was one thing, I don't have the clip for it, but they were talking about like how they gave like a gun like a really, really like punchy sound effect and people thought it was OP. And then they duplicated the gun, put it on like the opposing team, which was meant to be the sister gun, but it had the exact same stats, nothing in code was changed, but it had a wimpy noise. So instead of like a dum, it was just that tsum. And people said it was underpowered and didn't do any damage and stuff. So that's the reason for that. But I think like a lot of games are really, really fun when they just like have like sort of intricate noises and stuff. And when you look at something like Astrobot, Astrobot was an example of that where every single interactable just made noise. Even your controller was making noise. You like moved the door, and as it moved the door, your controller would just be vibrating and doing like controller exclusive sound. It was very similar to what the Wii remotes did. And so with this, some of the journalists are already saying, I can't get enough of Hollow Knight Silksong bead noises. Every single time it drops, it's like... So Silksong definitely has a chance in that. But like, it's basically just guns, or it's just intricate sound design, or it's realism. That's basically this category in a nutshell, okay? I'm not 100% sure on this, and again, this isn't like fully my opinion, this is just based on what journalists pick, okay? So, remember, I'm going with data here. Okay, back to stuff that I actually know about. Debut indie. Love indie games. Love indie games so much, right? So debut indie game means that it needs to be the first time that this developer has released a game. It's just debut, right? This is the game they've done. Now, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is technically an indie studio and is the first time they've released a game, but people keep debating whether it's AA or whether it's indie, and so I'm very unsure where to put it. But like, if it does classify for indie, it just has like an instant lock. If for whatever reason the rules aren't there, you can take the red one out and then you just go down the list again. Blue Prince is going to get nominated. It was made, it was published by Doggy Bomb, right? So it didn't have that much. Another thing they take into account every now and then is like publisher backing, whether there's like a lot of funds going into the game. But there was controversy over that with, I believe it was either Dredge or Dave the Diver. I think it was Dave the Diver last year, where it was like technically backed by a bigger studio. But yeah, Blue Prince is one. Despalote, I've already talked about. Journalists love that. It's just going to get in there. Anton Blast is the Pizza Tower equivalent of the game. And then Look Outside is actually just like the first time that developer has released a horror game. If Clair Obscur gets dropped off the list, I have to pick out of one of these three. Peak is an interesting one because it's a studio that's merged. So it's Aggro, Crab, and Landfall Games. So think Another Crab's Treasure and then Totally Accurate Battle Simulator. Those two studios came together and then they made Peak, essentially. Yeah, I can't find the Oolaka. Yeah, this is a very interesting puzzle game. I actually really like this, and so do some journalists. I haven't played it, I just like the look of it. Keep Driving is very, very cool, and I think it deserves a spot on here, but it's not their first game. They actually had a game before that. But it's such a small game that I don't know if they will count it, you know? Because like if you look at Steam and then you just look at this, they have... Wait, is that the same guy? I'm pretty sure there was another game he made before this one when I was looking at it. Because it was like this one and then one other one. But I think this is under a publisher, so... I'm unsure now. Oh, maybe it was just this one. Yeah, it was like this. But like, I don't know if this is like a full game. That's my issue. So I'm not convinced on Keep Driving, essentially. Oh, maybe it was a full game. Scrap it. I'm just wrong. But yeah, anyway, peak, like it's really weird. Like these ones might not be it. This is like the only other one. If we're also talking about debut indie games from like studios, one that I've missed here, if I was to revise this list, is Dispatch. Dispatch is just a bunch of Telltale developers. And it's already sold like over 1 million copies, like straight away, right? Technically this could sneak in there as well, even though it's made by like ex-Telltale employees, essentially. And it's like really resonating with people. Now, I want to talk about why that is, because a lot of people really, really like Telltale. So people are excited about it being good, but I want to take a moment to actually talk about like the fact that Telltale used to make like the Walking Dead games and all that, and they used to make so much stuff, and then they all got like laid off. So if we have a look
Telltale
at
Games
this,
meant
I'll just play it.
Telltale Games meant a lot to a lot of people, and it seemed like fans of the games wanted to celebrate the studios.
So this is a trim from a NoClip documentary. It's like 40 minutes. If you're interested, you should watch it. But like, I think a lot of people are excited about Telltale games because like it did mean a lot to a lot of people, and then like the studio essentially disappeared, and this is kind of like the rebirth of it. But this is what happened like in the moment like several years ago.
But the circumstances surrounding the sudden closure of the studio made this difficult. Hundreds of people worked at Telltale over the course of its 14-year life. Each of those people had a different experience and a valuable story to tell.
There were 3 projects going on at the same time. A lot of internal work was being done, so there's lots of reasons behind why we'd done everything that way. The executive staff would pop in for like, you know, they'd see it once and they'd go like, oh, fucking do all this. They would just throw out an idea and it's like, well, you don't know we tried that idea a week ago. And like, it was like, still they had to have power and influence over the thing, but not actual like investment in the trenches of the thing.
Telltale, especially at that time, really prided itself on the ability to iterate, the ability to take really large change sets and apply them quickly, which is extremely difficult and caused a lot of crunch. It caused a lot of overtime hours, working a lot of 70, 80, even occasionally 90-hour weeks trying to get that game out the door. And by the time I was on Walking Dead, the final season, that was rarely happening for me. I was actually able to work close to 40-hour work weeks a lot of the time.
Right. The way you make it sounds like a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, 40 hours seems amazingly relaxing when you're used to being in the office every single day during the weekend and also till 11 p.m.
Pete had come out of Zynga. He came to Telltale, and his basic mission was, you know, we've got to slim down. We've got to make fewer games, we've got to make better games, and we've got to innovate, which is what people have been saying at the company for years. One of the first things that happened, unfortunately, was the layoffs back in November of 2017.
The day before, everything seemed fine. Actually, in the afternoon, we had a creative meeting where we were talking about the possible projects we'd be working on next.
I didn't go to work the day before.
Right.
I stayed home, called in sick, and I couldn't face anybody. I was crying, I was depressed, like it was heartbreaking.
Another friend like pulled me aside later who like knew what was happening, had known for about a day, I think. And he was like, we're closing. We were in a room by ourselves and I just started crying. And I feel like that was probably the moment where, because we were towards the Wolf team and they probably all saw that happening and were like, well, pack up our bags, start saving things. But, you know, while I was having my own experience, that sort of rumor was kind of spreading around the office on its own too.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I was standing kind of in the back of the room. I had showed up just as the meeting was starting. And then he sat down and I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, our journey has come to an end.
And I think the shock of it was so hard for some people to grasp that, like, when he said that we weren't getting severance, that our health insurance was running out 2 weeks later, like nobody balked because it was just like, wait, we don't come back to work? Like, that's it right now?
So Telltale just had a monumental amount of like, you know, love and praise for like the games that they were releasing, but they were just like forced to churn over and over again to the point that they couldn't iterate. And the fact that it was like 80-hour work weeks down to like 40, like at some point, like when they like finally finished, it was basically just always crunch, right? those people really, really know how to make stuff, and they really, really loved the games to the point where it was just like completely unhealthy. And then it turned out their whole like business model like wasn't sustainable. So it's not surprising that a lot of people really, really like Dispatch 2. But talking about layoffs, this is just a thing that's like happening in the industry, and I'm not going to make like a top 5 layoffs, but we're actually seeing this in GTA
Something
right
disgusting just happened in the British video games industry. Game developers at Rockstar North, they wanted to talk to me about a union that they just started to form in order to push for better working conditions at the studio as it approached this final push towards the release of Grand Theft Auto 6. They'd recruited just over 10% of the Rockstar workforce here in the UK, and then out of the blue, all members of the union, including the majority of the organising committee, have all been let go from Rockstar without warning, without proper due course or any reasonable process.
The company have been out at lunchtimes here, sort of having conversations, trying to tell our side of the story.
All of us in the UK who were fired were union members. To be kicked out of work this way, like all of us still want to be here, we want our jobs, we want to finish what we were working on.
And it's quite insane that this is like a more growing trend, essentially, like this year, especially for like really, really big games. It's like pretty paralleled with what happened with Telltale, a game studio that's like really, really like big, and then they just like mismanage their funds and then they close down. And now GTA 6 is doing a similar thing with their workers, and it was 10% of their staff that joined the union just immediately got like kicked off, essentially. And then this happened around the same time as the delay. And Hyperlight Breaker had all of their devs laid off as well for their early access game, even though they've been working on it. And this is just a thing that's just like documented, essentially. There was like so many layoffs just happening across like all these studios and stuff. I was trying to find this while watching the videos, and there's like other links for this as well. People are just like always, you know, note-taking this. And it's insane that this was actually predicted way earlier. So Atrioc does like his predictions like every single year, and I'm just gonna play it. A lot of these are trimmed down for time. These are like, the first one was a 40-minute video, the other one was like a 10-minute video. This is just a little snippet out of Atrioc's predictions with like gaming scene for 2025. He said this back in like January of like this year.
Concord just had $100 million loss. We are seeing massive AAA flops all throughout the gaming industry. Big studios are freaking out. They cannot figure out what consumers want. They cannot spend the money appropriately. There are high-profile failures left and right. And unfortunately, the regular developers are paying the price. 2024 was a record for most video game industry layoffs ever. But what does that mean?
Isn't it interesting now with an extra year going by?
If a ton of highly talented games industry professionals are out of work, more indie games. There's a huge influx of small game companies, like 4 to 5 people. A lot of them composed of ex-employees of EA, Ubisoft, many of the companies doing layoffs. People are getting inspired. They're seeing opportunity. They're seeing if they have the right idea at the right time, they can put it up themselves on Steam and make life-changing money. The money plus this new wave of young kids, plus kicked out older people.
So it always comes back to furries as well, man. This is the one that was Lethal Company, I'm pretty sure.
Are coming together to create a perfect storm that I think was going to make 2025, at least for announcements, an absolutely insane year for indie games. Last year, indie games, for the first time ever, almost made as much money as AAA and AA games. It was 48% to 52%. My prediction is in 2025, indie passes this. Well, it depends on GTA 6.
And it's very interesting where that ended up leading to. Very amusing and ironic for a different reason now. But indie game studios are really huge. And I mean, he was right about like a lot of things there. Like the fact that Dispatch is just all ex-Telltale employees. New game, already 1 million sales within like the last few weeks, right? It's already getting like headlines, especially for the Game Awards. Jeff Keighley is already like tweeting about it. And then the other thing as well is Expedition 33. I'm blanking on it now, but they're all is it EA or is it Ubisoft? It's one of the two employees as well. So it's like one of those things. But yeah, GTA 6, big release of next year, Ubisoft, thank you. Let's talk about most anticipated games. GTA 6, it shouldn't be nominated, right? There's stuff going on there, I reckon, especially because it's not going to get released until, you know, November next year, which is after all the nominations happen. But it is just most anticipated game, essentially. And GTA 6 won last year, but there's nothing stopping a game from being nominated for most anticipated over and over and over again. We saw this with the next Zelda sequel, got nominated a few times in the Game Awards before they even knew what the name of the game was. Black Myth is having another game come out. Resident Evil Requiem is probably the front runner outside of GTA 6, I would say. A lot of people are interested in the new Resident Evil game to release, especially from Summer's Games Fest. That is there. Subnautica 2 would be on here without all the legal drama. yeah. There's a lot of anticipated games that I could not bring up, right? Resonance: A Plague Tale Legacy. I think this is the third game in the series, maybe it's the fourth. I don't really know too much about it other than my roommates used to play it. And traditionally those two games have done really, really well in the past with TGA. Just whenever the game gets released, it will immediately get nominated. Also, The Witcher 4 is another one. Surprising thing about this, I'll actually just show you the data for this as well. I'm trying to think where this is. Yeah, shortlist. Oh, no, it's under history. If we look at historical things here, you only got to look at the highlighted line at the bottom here. Anything here that is not highlighted in this color, right, is highlighted in blue. If it was highlighted in blue, it basically got nominated the year afterwards. It just won all the awards. And we can see this like very, very well if we have a look at like this one here. So anticipated games for 2023 was Tekken 8. Tekken 8 got Best Fighter the next year. Final Fantasy was sweeping a bunch of categories the next year in terms of like nominations, right? So if you look at what they were talking about last year, the games that the Game Awards were talking about was Death Stranding. So it'd be crazy to not see any of the Death Stranding as nominees. Same as Ghost of Yotei. This is actually a reason why this has been placed higher up in a lot of my lists. GTA 6 is there, but it's not going to see any action. Metroid Prime got there, but it's not even eligible considering it's in December. And then Monster Hunter Wilds, but like the game wasn't out yet, so a lot of people were just like really hopeful for it, essentially. But yeah, you can see this with a lot of it, like Resident Evil. If Resident Evil's here, it's basically in there the next year, essentially, most of the time. Same with Starfield. There's a Zelda game, which is like Tears of the Kingdom that got nominated, so on and so forth. I think you get the idea, right? What other games are there in terms of this? There's games that I'm interested in coming out next year. Do I have it here? No, I don't. It's Slay the Spire 2 is coming out next year. I think that's really, really interesting. And then there's a few other games like Mugenics is coming out. I think, did I put it on my list here? Shortlist. Oh, yeah, most anticipated. Yeah, I got it at the bottom here. The Big Walk is another game, but this is like an indie game. A few other standouts while I was like trolling data. These are just games that I thought looked cute. This is a photo mode game. Photo mode game. Yes, I can play a photo mode game. If we're talking puzzle games, Causal Loop is interesting, like time shifting game that's probably going to come out next year. And then if we're just talking about like cozy games as well, I also came across this, which I thought was interesting. It basically looks like a short hike, right? But the one game that's coming out next year that I'm very, very interested in is Beast of Reincarnate. I don't think I'm on the fence whether I would play this game, but it is coming out next year. And the most impressive part about it to me is that this is a Game Freak made game. So Pokemon, and they're doing like 3D environments and stuff. It's so bizarre, right? Like it's crazy that they're actually like putting effort into their like art creation, right? And they got human characters. What the heck? The trailer looks really low frame rate, so I just hope it's not like that. But it is insane to see them putting resources towards something instead of reusing the same assets over and over and over again, right? And so, yeah, they're putting their eggs into their basket for this, right? And I will just show you some notes here. The advertising this year for Pokemon ZA was not like well met, to the point of this was their advertisement in Australia. One of my friends got this on their timeline, right? This was the ad. Are you ready to get hyped about Pokemon Legends ZA from Game Freak?
There we go. You ready, gang? Sure am.
You ready to go? Sure I am. I'm so ready to go. Wow, my favorite family game, Pokemon. Well, we can say that's not going to get a nomination for Best Family Game. They can't even hype up their own game, man. What is happening? Oh, jeez. Anyway, Best Family Games. So family games for the best game appropriate for family plays, irrespective of genre or platform. So typically these games are 10 plus. Sometimes they can be 12, but you're not going to get anything over that. I have Sonic and Mario Kart against each other because I think it's funny, right? Lego Party is like the Mario Jamboree pick. Donkey Kong is your Nintendo slot that's like gonna get in there. And then Hello Kitty Island Adventure is actually a really, really high-rated Steam game. So a lot of people just speak well of this. So I think it's just going to be these 5. If we were to add anything else on here that I think might be snubbed, it's Peak. Peak could probably make it onto this list. And Lego Voyages. Not Lego Party, Lego Voyages. Lego Voyages is the Annapurna game. That is like a co-op game. Think like Split Fiction. The thing is It Takes Two got nominated in a prior year. But there's a reason it's not going to get nominated this year. I'll explain in a little bit, right? But yeah, this is Lego Voyages, right? So this is like that Annapurna game. Yeah. So this has potential as well, but I didn't put it on the list. The reason Split Fiction's not on here is that it's 16 plus, and it's kind of way too high for a video game rating. It Takes Two was 12 plus, and that was pushing it. So it'll be interesting to see if they skirt the line on that one, essentially. The only other games that could make it on here is Digimon Storytime Stranger, but like I think that's gonna get snubbed as well. I've already talked about Digimon. Some other games that are also family friendly that are just notable is like this game. You might be like, what the fuck? I'm an XY this game? But weirdly enough, this is made by it's not playing. This is made by the same people that make Professor Layton. It's just what Professor Layton's doing now. Luke, my boy, tap the screen, right? So you have that one. And then you have a Harvest Moon game. They had to rebrand due to licensing issues. They actually kind of lost the trademark. But yeah, it's Stories of Seasons, Grand Bazaar. And then the only other one is 2 Point Museum. And you can see all the reviews for this, but this is probably the only one like I've actually missed. Okay, yeah. All right, let's do some rapid fire stuff, right? Oh yeah, Dispatch. Wait, not Dispatch. Wait, what game is this? Does anyone know what game this is? I don't know if you know this game. Because this could be a family game. JK, it's Digimon, right? Anyway, sports games. These are the picks. I don't think I need to explain these, like in any capacity, right? I literally went to my spreadsheet. I looked at the tags. These are all the sports and racing games. You might wonder why Mario and Sonic aren't there, and it's because even though it says racing, they like their realism racing games. So these are the ones, and I tried to do a fine spread of them. The ones that are in orange are locked just because they're either sequels to last year's games and journalists have talked about them. The only new one here is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. Sometimes that gets nominated, but it's been a while. No Tokyo Extreme Racer? No. I did see it, but these are the 5. Not really many. to be honest. These are the ones. They don't really like putting other racing games in there. Even if it was like Need for Speed, they pick F1 a lot of the time. That's just what they do. So I got the sports game, which is like the FIFA equivalent, but they had to call it something else. They call it FC because they didn't want to pay rights anymore. F1, you got WWE, you got your basketball game, you got your skate game. That's it. Best fighting game. Oh yeah, there's the full list, by the way. You can see Tokyo Extreme Races at the bottom. No critics saw it. Steam saw it. Critics haven't. So that's why. Just doesn't fit into the category. They don't care. Cool. And then I think this was, I forget what sorting this was. Best fighting game. Best fighting games is also just another really, really clear lock. Because these are the only fighting games that like came out this year. And the one that's going to win is going to be Fatal Fury, City of Wolves. Straight up. It's either going to be that or it's going to be Virtua Fighter. Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection is like a wild addition. But I saw a few journalists point this out, but it's literally just like they put the games together. I don't think it's going to be one of these. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Mortal Kombat, and Capcom Fighting Collection doesn't make any sense. Fairy Tail is technically a fighting game, but like I don't think it's going to be added either. Last year was stacked. Last year had all the big releases. It had the Street Fighter games, it had Tekken, and it even had like Grand Blue Fantasy, right? So you had like your interesting sort of like mobile game crossover there. But yeah, that's going to be the one. But if we're being real, the best fighting game that came out this year that literally isn't eligible and it's not going to be voted for is this game, 2XKO. It's not eligible because it's not fully released. This is the League of Legends fighting game. But if it could be nominated, that one would just sweep. But yeah, best VR game, same thing. These are the top rated VR games. There's not much to add in terms of this, especially when journalists don't even know how to play VR games. There's not a lot of people talking about VR games. Yeah, I mean, we can look at these real quick. So the Midnight Walk, very interesting. Apparently you can play it in VR, but it also just has like its single player. You have Arcane Age, right, which is this game, right? There's not much I can add to this, right? Out of the 21,000 games that got released in the last year, I got that down to 729 VR releases. I probably missed some, but like I've scrapped a lot just due to Metacritic, right? But I have seen them. I did go through a lot of them, and it's just like these are the ones that are just getting mentioned, right? There's Out of Sight, which is like a notable one. Gone 2, it's mixed on Steam though, but like a lot of these ratings just aren't gonna like matter. There's like a Star Wars game that's like under what you call it, the meta, right? Again, I don't know if they're going to put in Star Wars into this. They could, just to pander. But yeah, this one has no Metacritic score. So when I said I went through like the 729 VR games, this is one that just like doesn't get like brought up. But like VR, no idea. They have that sort of what is it? This one, Beyond Blue After the Storm, right? Underwater VR game. Apparently this is very, very, very short, like a 2-hour experience or something. They put pinball in VR, and then what's the last VR game I have here? Cold VR. So we're not very spoiled for choice, essentially. You didn't even realize Gone 2 was released? Yeah, man. Yeah, no one talks about it in terms of that. So yeah, that's all VR stuff, essentially. Yes. While we're just rapid firing stuff, let's do best friend slot. Might as well. Best friend slot for this year. If we're just doing categories that just don't matter, like why don't they just do best friend slot? I mean, Ludwig talked about this.
Game of the year, the most entertaining, novel, collaborative, or fun game to watch on stream. Brother, it's not a question. It is Peak. This year, it is Peak. Peak has not only shifted, you know, and it's not the first friend slop game, but I think it was the most far-reaching friend slop game.
And that's really true. And I mean, like, it's just the experience that people want. It's a more casual experience. And even the studio themselves said they're like proud to wear the label Friend Slot. They say every day I wake up in that Friend Slot. They just want to play it with their friends. Other Friend Slot games, these are horror ones. I'm just showing you horror Friend Slot, right? So you have this, I don't know, Fish Stick Protocol, you would have never seen this. Species Unknown, you would have probably never seen this at all. I dug deep for some Friend Slot games here. Here's another horror one that you've probably never seen, right? You have like all these like masks. There are so many that are coming out. There's Pizza Death Livery. It's another one. They're always horror games. The Friend Slot games. There's Gone Fishing, which is another one. This is another horror Friend Slot game. There's Dark Hours, which is another horror Friend Slot game. But I'd be remiss to not mention like the big Friend Slot games. So Repo, we've already seen that at the top of the list, but none of these would be eligible anyway. Are We There Yet is a game I bought that I want to play with Retro. And then, I don't know if you count this as Friend Slot, but like Among Us 3D. it's just like the community based sort of like, you get some VC, you play it with people, and then you lie and be sus. But Peak is like one of the only Friend Slot games that like isn't based in horror in any sense. And Tesla, it's interesting they say Peak is Peak. That was the original joke that the devs just kept saying for it, essentially. But yeah, so there are all of those games, essentially. What about biggest gambling games? Clover Pit was one of the biggest gambling games this year. I mean, with the advent of Balatro and all these indie games, I mean, why not, right? This is another one. If you're talking like gambling, this is basically just Breakout with like roguelike upgrades and bullet hell, right? Another one is just like Unfair Flips. Unfair Flips is just the most simple sort of degenerate gambling in the sense of you just flip a coin. Why? You could do this in real life, man. You don't even need to do this, dude. You have so many of these things where you sit down and there's some sort of mechanism and machine for gambling. Mega Bonk is a really, really popular one this year. Same with this, Recoin. This isn't released yet, but this is just a pushing game, right? We're just seeing more and more and more of these. One of the more interesting ones that I saw come out was actually Slots and Daggers, but this just has like so much like conditional sort of like stuff in it as well, similar to Clover Pit. I've already mentioned this one earlier. This one was just really highly rated on Steam, which is Nubby's Number Factory. I need to play this at some point. Anyway, talking about content creator games, Mega Bonk, which is made by a content creator, we're going to see a lot more content creator games. And there was actually a lot this year, strangely enough. Get to Work was released this year, within this like year span. This was like Atriox game, just rage baiting game, right? Yeah, right? But there was also a bunch of other smaller YouTubers that made one. So there's Fretless. And if we look at some of like the early spreadsheet data, Fretless actually just made it all the way to the top. This is a Rob Scallon game. This is like a music producer guy. You might have seen Rob Scallon before. It's all just like guitar themed, essentially. And people like it, but people say this is way, way higher rated than it should be. But like, I mean, it is on like the sheet, essentially. I'd be amiss not to mention it, essentially. Like if you just go to like, if we sort on ratio and then you do Steam score, which is doing a normalization of reviews, this is top 5. It's just there, which is so bizarre, all right? Another one that makes it in here for like content creator games is actually the Angry Video Game Nerd, which is wild. I didn't even know he made a game. What the fuck, man? It's so bizarre. I told you about this game. I vaguely remember this, to be honest, right? If we're talking about really small, like, you know, game dev YouTubers, Blood Thief is a movement-based game that came out, akin to like Neon White, essentially. And a lot of these there's a lot of games sort of playing off the Balatro idea. You have Word Atro that was made, and I saw people playing this in Discord. It was like a flash in the pan, and they just played this. But also there was one from Game Maker's Toolkit, I'm pretty sure it was that guy. Yeah, which was Wordplay, which was also, I thought this already got released when I saw Word Atro, but then this one's like the Boggle equivalent of that, maybe? But like, I don't know, man. It's like weird, right? Let's talk about bigger content creators, right? So there was a YouTuber that made this game, and people absolutely adore this game. You may have seen the art style for this at some point, and the thing is I've been ignoring this for a lot of like my data analysis, but I don't know where this would come in, under what category. I'm well aware of it, but it is like a very huge game and has resonated with like a lot of people. If you look at the spreadsheet again, this is actually it should be up here somewhere. It's here. It's just below Deltarune, right? And it also has like a lot of like positive reviews. It's got like half the amount of Deltarune essentially, and it's just like a YouTuber that just like made this game essentially. I mentioned this earlier, right? Islanders. It's made by that one guy, Willet Snail, right? Which was the AI that tried to make impossible levels and stuff like that. And then last but not least, the last content creator game from this year. There's a big push in terms of content creator games, and we'll probably see more of it in the next few years. Aethermancer. Aethermancer is from Off-Brand Games, which is run by Ludwig, right? So they're just putting money into this game. It's obviously made by a different game, but this is 2 for 2 of just putting furries into games for him, essentially. Yeah. So with that being said, best furry games. I did my research. So simulation and narrative. I mean, Fuga Melody Steel 3. This is a furry game, man. Thunderfolk. We've mentioned this before, but this is just like the RPG furry game, which have just both like snuck up in terms of just like scores that were notable on my spreadsheet, right? But also speaking of content creators, there was like this interesting content creator that I saw that just released this game like last week, essentially. Yeah, it's a Raven Story. So you're just a bird, essentially. This is being sold in the Animals Fest right now, and you're basically just a corvid exploring. Insane, insane, insane. We have this game here, Shapes of Dreams. Listen, I went through a lot of the data, okay? So, like, there's no way I could ignore some of these games, but you have this one, right? Project Silverfish, right? Which is a shooting furry game. Poor Wild Assaults from last year got snubbed. Was no Arc Raiders. But now you have this one? Wait, thoughts? Here it is. So I don't know. So if this is something you're interested in, here you go. But the one that I'm most interested in, non-ironically, is a game called Disco Pup. This is giving grunt energy in like every capacity, essentially. Here it is. Look, what is this game, man? It's crazy. I didn't realize that all of my research would lead back to just like, oh shit, there's actually a lot of games I missed this year that I want to play. There was so many, man. It's great. I went down a wild rabbit hole for the last few weeks. What about Back to the Dawn? Let me see. Oh, I did see this game. I forgot to put this on my list. But yeah, I've seen this. This is a game in the Animals Fest as well. Yeah, I saw this on Game Dev Twitter, actually. Yeah, I don't have much to add for this, but this is a big RPG story game. Yeah, no, good call out. Yeah, I didn't have that on there. Cool. I missed one. There's one puzzle game, not puzzle game, there's one furry game that eclipses all of them, and it's right at the top here. Squeakross. I'm not joking. This damn game How is this game in the top 4, man? On Steam. It's insane. It's basically just Puppy Cross, but you play as a rat. It's essentially Puppy Cross in every sense. People crave for the 3D cozy puzzle game. So, is this by the Puppy Cross devs? I don't know, man, but it looks insanely similar. It doesn't look like it is. It's essentially Puppy Cross, which is wild. It's wild that, like, we were doing the trends before they became a trend, because this is Puppy Cross, the 2020 game, and it is eerily similar in every case. And, like, they just, it was 2D instead of 3D. But anyway, so people desire crosswords, puzzles, stuff like that. So we got best puzzle games. Blueprints, without a doubt, takes it. There's a game called It's a Seat Taken. Talos Principle Reawakened came out this year. I didn't even mention that as like a puzzle game in like any capacity, right? There is this game, Momentum Valley 3, which journalists like talking about, but it's not gonna get anything, essentially. Other puzzle games that came out, Loopholes is really good. And then there was also Invertigo, which I wasn't too thrilled about. But this one did come out. It was a gravity-based puzzle game, essentially. And I don't know if it's going to play, but you have that. It's like the Manifold Gardens, what you call it, gameplay loop. But Blueprints was like the dominant puzzle game this year, essentially. Cool. Anyway, let's talk about Best Art Direction. Best Art Direction is going to these ones. And I'm just going to pull up my notes here. So if you look at last year's winners, these were last year's winners. Okay? So you had Astrobot. Look at the art, right? They had so many different worlds, right? Easy Nintendo pick, essentially. You had Elden Ring, right? I'm pretty sure it was the DLC. You're on a horse! Right? Black Myth Wukong. You have your anime game, you got your indie game. These are kind of the slots here. Now, if you look at Ghost of Yotei, you're also on a horse! Easy pick. Environment, horse. It's done. It's so locked in, and journalists have just like, it's the most pretty game that I've played. Oh my god, sometimes I just walk around and I immerse myself in the environment. Donkey Kong is the Astrobot pick. I don't know what else to say about that. And then if we go down here, these are the type of games we have here. So Clair Obscur undoubtedly has incredible environments, so these are the picks, right? So the first three are pretty obvious, I would say. Clair Obscur gets the pick in there, right? This is the journalist just saying that they would like to stand still. They're like, I'm not even playing the game, I'm just running through the field, right? Split Fiction, journalists just have a real hard-on for Split Fiction to the point of like, it's just a bunch of mini games and you're moving and you're moving and you're moving sort of thing. I'm willing to take this one out in terms of a different game, and I'll show you the alternative games, but this one I'm pretty unconfident about. And then this one here, Midnight Walk, this has come up a few times during horror and stuff like that. I didn't understand why journalists keep picking this game. And I mean, when you look at the art here, like it is like stunning and striking in a way, but like Gris was nominated for, you know, like the beautiful like environments and stuff, and like it's always just loved, but I was trying to see which indie game would get picked. And it seems like they're gunning for this one. And it's basically because it's claymation. It's all claymation. They just sculpted everything. And so I think when it comes to Best Art Direction, they're very, very intrigued about this process of making games, which is shocking to me, right? But it's interesting. So they basically modeled everything, scanned it, and then put it into the game, which is an insane amount of effort for a game. And we actually saw this the year prior with Harrod Halibut, right? But unfortunately, this met like tepid reactions. It was like people thought it was like a cool idea, but then it had like the pitfalls of like point and click. But yeah, it's interesting to see the sort of direction that's going. Also, it's made by the same people as Fee, which people have recommended to me to play. So anyway, potential, I don't see this one really, but it does have like a unique sort of thing going for it. Death Stranding, I feel like Death Stranding should be in there. And I don't really know how else to put it in there, but it strikes the realism, you know. Silksong, it feels ridiculous for me not to put Silksong in there, essentially. Silksong makes way too much sense to put in here. And I'm not showing you more than the promotional stuff, but I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous, and it's more well refined than like Hollow Knight, essentially, right? And then we have Sword of the Sea, which then makes me realize, oh no, it's the Journey pick. So, like, that's also tough. So I'm definitely getting something wrong here. And then I would be amiss to mention that Hades got nominated in this category as well. So did Death Stranding, right? So Hades was here, right? And Hades' environment also looks gorgeous. But if we're going for realism as well, are they going to put Shadow's Creed in there? No, Assassin's Creed Shadows? Are they going to do that? I don't know. But like, it is one of those things that really, it should come back down to the fact that Death Stranding, Hades, and this is missing. And it's really easy to overlook Death Stranding, but they love Death Stranding.
Welcome to the nominee announcement. For Best Narrative, the nominees are Death Stranding, Best Art Direction, Death Stranding, Best Score and Music, Death Stranding. Nominees for Best Performance are Mads Mikkelsen, Cliff in Death Stranding, and
Norman Reedus
as Sam Porter Bridges in Death Stranding. Best Audio Design, Death Stranding, in the genre of Best Action Adventure Game, Death Stranding. And now on to the final two awards. For Best Game Direction, which recognizes outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design, Death Stranding.
Which is the category we're looking at right now. No, this is the next one as well. This is game direction, then you have art direction. But game direction has to do with like, oh, they're doing something like really unique that we haven't seen before.
Stranding from Kojima Production. And
Death
finally,
Stranding, Death
here are
Stranding.
the 6 games selected by our jury as the ultimate expression of creative and technical excellence. Game of the Year. Death Stranding from Kojima Productions and Sony Interactive Entertainment. There you have it. Those are your nominees.
Here are the nominees for Best Score in Music. Death Stranding. And the winner is Death Stranding.
Wow.
And the winner for Best Game Direction goes to Death Stranding.
I'm very happy to come back to this stage tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Kojima. I'm glad you're happy to come back to the stage tonight. So that being said, something's gone terribly wrong here in my Best Art Direction. Because there's a lot of conflicting things. This is a year where a lot of these games on the right here were nominated for Best Art Direction in their relative years, but they've all had sequels at similar times where it's like, what the hell do you pick? And it's to the point where I'm like, maybe Donkey Kong comes out, maybe Split Fiction comes out, you put in like Death Stranding, you put in Silksong. But it's hard, and it's especially hard because they're indie games, right? They like doing their bigger, you know, AAA releases, essentially. So, yeah, it's rough. Yeah, that's not Kojima, that's his translator. Yeah, I know, but like Kojima said it. He's happy to be back on the stage, man. I should have played Kojima saying it, but I'd be like, do you know what he said? So anyway, that's that one. I don't have much more to add to that. Let's do Best Game Direction. It follows afterwards, right? So Best Game Direction awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. I'm wondering, no, I don't. Historical picks. A lot of these games just did something very, very unique for its time. We can just check this real quick. So if I just go here, I have Game Direction. I think it's worthwhile looking at just because then it gives you an idea. So these are all of the prior nominees for like the last like 6 years. So you had Astrobot, lots of environments and stuff, Balatro, new indie game, sensation hit, right? You have Elden Ring, Final Fantasy often gets in there, right? So think your environments. Tears of the Kingdom, open world, right? You get a lot of these Mario games that come in, right? And then they have their Marvel, right? Stray is interesting for its time, right? Mocap, you get there, right? You also have Aloy's story continuing, right? It Takes Two was very new for the time, and especially for like couch co-op, right? Typically not the type of games that like you see like get made. So when this came out that year, that actually made like a lot of sense, right? Here, Last of Us Part 2 won, which is crazy when Half-Life Alyx is a game that got made that year. Also, Ghost of Tsushima and Hades are there as well, which is like absolutely wild as well. Like that's just like a stacked year in like every capacity, right? And then if you look at the year before that, Death Stranding won Best Game Direction against Outer Wilds. And Outer Wilds, there's no game like Outer Wilds, right? Where it's just like this like open world, like narrative sort of puzzle game where you're just like, you know, it's self-driving for you to find out more about like the universe. And it is so good. But Death Stranding was also just a new experience that was there at the exact same time. But you gotta remember, these are games that are doing something new for their particular year. And what is better than putting Blueprints on this list, right? I think Blueprints has a chance to actually get on this purely because it is one where they blended, you know, puzzle elements with roguelike, and it's just a really refreshing sort of take on it, essentially. Do I have slides for this? I don't. But yeah, I mean, Blueprints is getting a lot of like press in terms of that. So let me just show you this.
So before diving deeper into how we made the art of Blueprints, I want to take a minute to say again thanks to the Blender Foundation for having me.
So Blueprints already had like 2 million players worldwide. This is a Blender conference where they got this guy who worked on the art in this. I watched some of this video. The crazy thing about what they've done here is that all of their art style is referencing like one atlas. It is not much. This is basically all of the textures they use. They have like a few more, but like this is predominantly like the ones they use, and they apply it to like literally all of the stuff in here. And it already started getting nominated for like engine awards, essentially. It even had like Unity, I think, as well. And then if you look at how many like copies it sold, The Witness is like a similar puzzle game that came out that sold like 100k copies in the first week. But like, that's really comparable to Blueprints. If we just do these side by side, this has 1.2 million sold, estimate. And then you look at Blueprints and it's already sold like 500,000 as well. So it kind of makes sense to like compare Blueprints as being like a notable puzzle game, because when most people think puzzle games, it's like Portal, Talos, Witness. And so Blueprints is really getting a lot of attention right now, especially just for like innovation, for like what it did. And it was made for like, what, 8 years as well? Like absolutely insane. Yeah. Split Fiction I have there just because like a lot of people just love their co-op games. I don't remember why I linked this. Essentially, Split Fiction is proud middle fingers to the conga line of entitled tech bros who decided art is a commodity that can be scraped, stolen, and repackaged. Where the hell did they say this? What the hell? Oh, there we go. Yeah, IGN was really mad that they were just saying that it's very lovely, essentially. So, I don't know what this journalist's take is, but it's crazy to think that they're implying that other games are doing art. I don't know. Yeah, and then they have behind the scenes for like how they made their characters and stuff like that. But there's this trend of really focusing on modeling and like how we develop the game, and it's like almost like they want to advertise like all their assets and models. So like, I mean, if we look at this, like you saw this happening with like Stray. Stray got nominated one year and they're like, look at this. This was like the innovative thing that they did, right? So it's like, look, we put a bunch of trackers onto a cat and then we put it into the game. So the other picks here are literally like similar to this. It's like, look at this like voice actress. We put them in the game. This is like what Ghost of Yote's doing. The PS5 exclusive game, they're just like, here are the people, right? We put them in the game. Mocap. Mocap's where it is. Easy game direction. We need our realism. But the thing is like, you take a look at something like Death Stranding. They do a similar thing. This is like the mocap, but it's like kind of amusing, like watching some of this, right? Like they have like so much like gear for this sort of stuff that like it always feels like silly to like not like put this in, because I feel like the journalists are just going to be looking at this. Also, look at this like blue screen like pizza that he's like eating, right? It's not mocap. Oh, sorry. What do you call this? But yeah, this is like where it's like going essentially. Oh my god, he's on the floor. No, the game before. Oh yeah, Split Fiction. No, you're right. Sorry, I was thinking ahead. So this is Death Stranding 2 for you. So, knowing how much Jeff Keighley loves Kojima, and Kojima's on the advisory board that gets the big journalists and stuff, I think it's a pretty safe bet that this is going to be in there. With that being said, I think Clair Obscur kind of just eclipses a lot of this work. You know? This is the intro cinematic to the game, as far as I understand. I haven't played it still. But it makes so much more sense why, when I watch like some of these like scenes in video games, why I feel like there's often a distance between the people, and it's because they're literally recording like their facial expressions and stuff. But I love that they just like attached phones like onto like these mounts. Yeah, be careful, spoilers. It's fine. I'm like, yeah. This is the cheapest mocap ever, and it's so good, yeah. And it's like interesting because like they like look at each other as well, and then it's just like, it's insane. Like I'm surprised that they never have the things like hit into each other. So no, it's not fine. What the fuck? Isn't this the intro, man? This is what like I saw for intro. Anyway, so there's that, right? So that's best game direction. So I don't know. I haven't played the game, so I don't know. Yeah, so dude, that's fine. I might play it one day. We'll see. So, they're the ones essentially that are here. I feel weird about the Split Fiction one. Clair Obscur is like the only like hard block in there. I feel like Blueprints should be higher, but I don't know. They're like the 6 front runners. Don't worry about the whole. Best independent game. Dude, independent games is like a bloodbath. This is the last category. And I saved this one for last because indie games is like the only thing I play. Now the 2 in red, these 2 should just like take it out unless jury has a problem with it. And if the jury has a problem with it, it's the next 5, essentially. Right? So Clair Obscur, some people are saying it's AA, but like, I don't know. And then Deltarune, there's the argument of like, it's not fully released, but these would be the 2 here, right? So essentially it just comes down to which ones are they just willing to allow in there, okay? What's in the whole Aminex? We don't talk about the whole. But Blueprints is obviously going to get nominated for it. I haven't talked much about Blueprints for this entire stream, but I sunk 200 hours into Blueprints, right? It has an interesting way of just pulling you into the world, essentially. The puzzles, as you're solving them, are very, very satisfying, right? I think it's a very good game for the first 10 hours, which is what a lot of the journalists played. Playing it more than that, it does become really grindy, and there are some like flaws to it, but like for a game like this, it's like nothing really like it. Hades 2, I mean, I really enjoyed Hades 1. I can see why this one would get nominated again. I'd be shocked if it doesn't, essentially. It's so interesting how there's just a lot of sequels this year. Silksong, just like highly anticipated, essentially. I think I have this like downloaded, essentially. I want to show you this. Silksong was so massive, especially here in Australia, that it actually changed some stuff. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's here. So Silksong is made by a few developers that come from Adelaide, and after it got released...
The video game industry could be the next big moneymaker for the state, with the government set to pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into the sector through a series of grants for budding developers. They'll aim to build on the success of an Adelaide-born game, which literally broke the internet and has a cult following across the globe.
It might look familiar. You could even be one of the 5 million people who played it 3 days after it came out. This is Hollow Knight Silksong, the global success of our...
And so we'll skip ahead. This is when they like stand here and then they go, yeah, we're going to put funding into video game industry in Australia.
Sector growing globally at an incredible rate. Here in South Australia, it's worth $36 million.
And so, like, essentially Australia is like hopping onto that now that they realize it's like a money-making machine for them. And they also did this. I love that he starts with gamers, rejoice! Get in the Silksong times! There it is! Yes!
Gamers around the world have...
Anyway, so they interviewed some journalist or whatever, and they were talking about Silksong. Like, explain Silksong to those people that don't know. But yeah, that's a massive game for Australia. Peak, I feel silly picking Peak, but Peak did make like a splash in there. I Keep Driving is a game that I think is really good, but I think Look Outside should actually be here instead. Sword of the Sea is also another one, but here's the thing. If these two are allowed, then it's just these 5. Like, we're done. It's the ones in red and orange. If the red ones aren't allowed, it's going to be Sword of the Sea, Peak, or Look Outside is going to be there. There are so many indie games. The ones that I think are snubbed, Loophole, very good puzzle game, but it doesn't really stand up to Blueprints. Easy Delivery Co. It's just Death Stranding delivery mechanics light. Me-Side really should be on here, but it just won't be. Wonder Stop, you know what Wonder Stop's like. It's an Annapurna game that just like didn't really get there. But it's made by the same guy as like Stanley Parable, so it's Davey Reedon. Baby Steps, this is just the sequel for Getting Over It, so it's also another Australian developer. Minna, I don't think this is released yet. So they were really excited about this game during Summer Games Festival. This is another Annapurna game that might not quite make it. And Look Outside, these ones here really should, like, it's either or, essentially. I have here Horrible Everhood 2. Okay, there's a lot to like about Everhood 2, but I don't think it should be there. And Hyperlight Breaker, it's just like, it's defunct now. Yeah, and then these are some very small games that like no one really knows about. If we just do some like rating stuff, here's a bunch of indie games that have basically been released. Essentially, I don't know if I wrote down the thing. Yeah, this is Metacritic. So just based on Metacritic, these are the ones. And I mean, you can almost just read these off verbatim. Like this one makes it, this one makes it, this one makes it, and this one makes it. Whether they put Despelete in there is like another thing, essentially. I don't know. Sword of the Sea might make it in there, but there are some like interesting picks that come in here. And then the ones that I'm like so unsure about, it's like Keep Driving's there. So it's like Look Outside, and then Me-Side's like right beside it, you know? So they're there, but like Peak just sold more millions. That's the thing. So I can't ignore that, essentially. This one's the highest Metacritic with over 1,000 reviews. So it's just getting rid of like some of the noise. That does bring in to the top No, I'm Not Human. I'm trying to see what else is here that's actually like a standout. But like a lot of these like indie games, like if you're just like following it, like you would just know them. That's like when Wonder Stop like actually comes up as well. So you can see this here. And it's crazy that like Everhood 2 is actually like here as well. Unfortunately that we only ever have one Keep Driving stream. That was like a 9-hour stream. Lovely game. Absolutely love that game. This is the top 50 rated on Steam based on the Metacritic downloads and GameSpot data I have. I haven't scraped all of Steam. But yeah, the highlights here would just be like Nubby's Number Factory. And then there's also the bug game. You got the bug game and then this puzzle game here, essentially. But I don't think any of those are going to make it. If anything, Midnight Walk might, but like I had that under like best art direction, again, just because of the claymation, essentially. And then you have like the Pizza Tower type game here, which is like this one, essentially. Cool. And then this one is just the top games that have over 4,000 reviews, and that's it. This is the top 25. You can see Dispatch makes it into this list. Dispatch is such a late entry, but people are already liking this, that it's just one of those things, essentially, where I don't know where to place it anymore. Dispatch might sneak its way into here, right? It might like surpass Peak, essentially. So yeah, that is basically all of the categories. There's a lot of beautiful games this year, and it's such a stacked year just for gaming abroad. Like 2025 is really, really good. And there's definitely a lot of things that I've gotten wrong, but either way, we're in for a treat, okay? So those are all of my predictions for the upcoming 2025 nominations that come out tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll be watching them and seeing how many of them I get right. But the main takeaway here is that there are so many games that you can get excited about. So I hope I at least like showed you something new that you haven't seen. And I hope you at least like feel inspired about like some of this, because I think this is like so cool, especially after last year when Balatro was like actually just unknown before the Game Awards hit. Like people knew about it. There was like the big in circle, but the second the nomination happened, you look at the charts for Balatro and it just re-spiked again in sales. So I think there's going to be like a lot of attention brought to these games. So that's it. They're my predictions, essentially. Let me get up the thing one more time, and I'll just flick through them real quick for you. But that's pretty much all of the data. There is so much data. That was like weeks of me just looking at stuff. So I would have loved to make it more brief, but I was running out of time. That was the first time I read through all the script. It was essentially, I had like 9,000 words of dot points, by the way. So it's just keeping it all in my head is like so much. It is so hard to manage. But yeah, let me flick through it real quick. I gotta like find where it's at. Okay, so here we go. So this is just top to bottom. So this is best action game. So orange, definite picks. Yellow, it's going to be one of the yellow ones, right? It's the best action adventure. Orange locks. Yellow, I'm pretty sure. If one of the yellows don't get it, I think it's Ghost of Yotei. These are for best art direction. Although I don't entirely buy what I said there. This is best audio, right? Best family, best fighting, best game direction. This is best independent game, right? Best mobile game, right? Multiplayer, narrative, best role-playing, best score on music, although this is completely wrong. Best sim strategy, best sports, I think a lot of these are right. Best VR games, I think a lot of those are right. Debut indie, I'm pretty certain on the orange. The orange are just like locks. I'm pretty happy about Look Outside and Anton Blast. There's normally a lot of overlap with the indie games. Game of the year, I'm very confident on these three, especially because like it matches like even what Polymarket's saying. Death Stranding, I think is a good contender, and then it's like, I don't know which one's going to get in out of Ghost of Yotei and Hades. Games for Impact, I think these are good guesses. Anticipated, and then that's it. That's pretty much it. Sweet, man. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks all for tuning in. Next year when I do this, I'm going to be a lot more prepared because I've done it once. There was so much I had to learn to like get through that. Here snubbed. Yeah, here snubbed. I have more notes for indie games, but like we can't keep talking about indie games. There are so many indie games here. So like my personal favorite indie games, I didn't mention this in the whole talk, but they're here. These are my favorite indie games. Me side, number 1, Blueprints, then Silksong. I'm still playing through Silksong. I love Silksong. Wonder Stop is fantastic. One of the best emotional experiences I've had recently this year. Although there were other better games. Like I really liked playing Amori this year. But it didn't come out this year, so that's why it's not in there. Easy Delivery Co. is good. Loopholes is good. Keep Driving. Lush World Photography Sim is an Annapurna game. But it's also, I think it was made by an Australian. Kiosk, horrible game. Very fun. Sip Fisher. There's so many fishing games. I was going to do a fishing segment. Didn't have enough time. White Knuckle, I suck at. I suck at White Knuckle. Me researching White Knuckle, I realized how much of the game I have not seen. These are just popular with people. It's crazy. And then there's a bunch of recognizable games here as well, which like, it's insane how often someone mentioned Brazilian Drug Dealer 3 to me. And this is actually just like on the list of like data. Yeah, there is one article I found that mentioned Me Side. 2 developers, 1 artist. And this is it. This is the only article out of all the ones I sampled that I saw, and they just said, yeah, people really seem to like this game, and then that was it. And then here's a whole table of like other games, but we don't need to go through all of them. Yeah. So when are you going to play Expedition 33? I don't know. But yeah, Kiosk was there. Sorry I didn't read chat too much, but I knew that this is already such a long stream and I knew I had to get through everything. So yeah.